Hello everyone and welcome back to Fight Night Rising. My name is Khroen and joining me as usual is Boopasaurus. Boop, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. New patch, who dis, as I like to say, and we have a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about new patch 12.2 and it actually dropped today as well because there was a holiday this week, so we even get less time that these players have prepped in the patch. It's just, patch day, boom, let's see how they're going to adapt to it. And speaking of, speaking of the players who are going to be playing on the patch, let's introduce the players. We are going to have last week's champion, a common quail coming back, as well as a rat and Kuzma, and then we're going to have Hyperspace, Ace, Yiggles, Bone Apple Tea, and Firestorm to round out the lobby, Boop.
Ooh, I'm pretty sure everyone except for Ace has been here before.
Yeah, I think.
So that should be pretty awesome. Yiggles is a top threer. Yiggles also probably had one of the coolest ever Fight Night games ever with like 8 million spats. I believe that was Yiggles.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll see if that same kind of luck happens. They won that day? No. Yeah, I think they might have won that day. So we'll see if she's going to be able to do it. And you got to love people like Bone Apple Tea coming back and giving it their all once again. I don't think they've had the top 4 success, but things might happen.
And I saw the name Firestorm, and I was like, oh, Firestone? But no, it's Firestorm. It's not going to be the legendary Firestone back in set 1. That's okay. These players are going to be competing for their share of the Rising prize pool, of course, $200 total. 100 goes to first, second place 50, third and fourth get 25, but the top 3 will be invited back for next week. And Boop, as we were mentioning, we have the new patch 12.2. There's not so many like big changes, but I think the things that stood out to me mostly were one, the portable forge now going to a gold tier and all the forge items getting nerfed, but it's gonna be a lot more likely to see those actually being played. It was so rare to see the portable forge being picked as a prismatic augment because the items oftentimes just weren't worth it. You would get a lot more value out of the other options there. But also just the system changes in general. You go level 8, you're going to now only have a 4% chance to find legendary units, down from 5% before. But what stood out to you? What are you kind of expecting to see coming through from these patch notes?
I think it's portable forge. I was telling you beforehand.
Yeah.
I think I'm undefeated when I get the augment when I play it. And what's actually really interesting about it is it seems to be in that spot where it's not quite with the tag kids, the talented and gifted kids, right? But you're not like doing nothing,
Yeah.
So it was either going to be super overpowered as a prismatic or maybe feel underpowered as a tier 2 augment. But I think that maybe we actually have some power to go on some of our items, and maybe some of these items are actually going to find some purchase as we move on, because it is going to be much more common to see as well, just based on the augment change. And that should change how people look at some of this game as we get started. And this is going to be an opening that a lot of people try to go for, which is going to be Ezreal or Innovators, or you can just pack 4 Caitlyn's,
Yeah.
because snipers are pretty good right now. But are we going to do the whole shebang here and sell out to Ezreal? Maybe we'll get some money anyway.
Yeah, probably just waiting to see if they get money, buy out everything, keep the Ezreal in case you pivot that direction. Just a little bit of min-maxing that these TFT players, especially at Common Quail, are going to always do. Maximize the chances of just having a good early game. And good early games, I think, are back on the menu, even since the previous patch, going back to like 12.1. But moving over to Hyperspace, as we get the augment choices coming through. Hyper Roll, didn't quite see the other two. Hyper Roll
We're
was
just
one of them.
tier 1.
Yeah.
We have a Reforger too, which is nice. Probably aren't going to reforge any of those items, but we have Item Grab Bag was
And
was
featherweights.
one other one. Oh, perfect. We looked other places.
Yeah. I looked left, he looked right. We didn't even plan that one. It was just perfect.
Yeah, we're a good team. So we went we went with blanking on the name real quick. Item nope.
The hyper roll.
Hyper roll, that's what it is. So
Yeah.
we're going to go with the hyper roll, and now we're going to have the opportunity to really buff up some of these earlier units. We already have a tier 2 Twitch, so we've got some direction to go, and any chem tech could go into a mutant package. So you can, of course, always keep that option open. A good amount of money in a pre-level for it.
Yeah. The potential to keep Yordles was there and actually would have hit the Tristanas, but not going to be Yordle instead. Hyperspace, with that hyper roll pickup, really just wants to push levels. They might even go level 5 as fast as like 2-2 or 2-3. They just keep generating that extra, econ, as well as solidify their early game board as very strong and try to go on a win streak. Now, overall, this board isn't, anything to write home about. The Twitch 2 is really the only redeeming factor, not even any item slams, at least for now. Could consider slamming an Infinity Edge, but it might not even be enough to beat the board of Bun Apple T here.
Yeah, Twitch pretty good unit right now. Can carry every 80 item that you could use for someone like a Shaco or anyone else a little bit later. But Caitlyn isn't even going to get that free kind of unit deletion with that ultimate. And that's kind of what Caitlyn is really good for. You can almost assume that you're not going to get wiped, but in this situation we did, even though we had a little bit of protection available with the Kassadin. As we're continuing to roll as we go over to Mr. Bon Apple, and we have
Bon Applet.
Yeah, Bon Applet. It's the new Apple phone coming to a screen near you.
Another one? I've lost count.
Just for the cheap old price of $3,000. But no,
that's pretty good.
I know, for an
Affordable.
Apple device. Yeah.
Smile.
Yeah, we got some Knife's Edge here, so we're just going to get into our front 2 rows and get our extra stats, which is going to be really nice for everyone here, except Ezreal. But Ezreal's not going to be where we're fighting our damage currently.
Yep, Ezreal will give Scrap that gives a Banished Claw to the Trundle, as well as that Deathblade. That's a very early Deathblade slam. Oftentimes players would greed out to say maybe they can get an IE or maybe even Giant Slayers if they need that in the late game. But going up against a Lissandra 2 with a Morello's, what? That is such a strong early game, and being buffed with Chemtech. Yeah, that's like unheard of, having a tier 2 3-cost carry, especially even before the stage 2 carousel. Like that, It has to be a free or nearly free streak, at least into Krugs, if not more.
Yeah, we might have gotten 2 of them on our PvE rounds in order to make that happen. Definitely at least 1, because packing 2 would be insane. But you never know, as we do have some Yordles on the board. There's a Tristana 2, so that might stick around, or it might not as we move some of our units around. We're just going to keep the Scrap this time in with the Ziggs.
Right up against Kuzma. Also, Knife's Edge. A few players running Knife's Edge here in this lobby. Going to make sure to run those units in the first 2 rows to get benefit from that augment. Zizirot's going to be the scrap roll. Don't think it's going to be enough, however. The Shiv Twitch. A lot of players very, very liberal in their item slams. They're just okay getting a little bit of value. Ooh, actually, the Zizirot might be enough. Yeah, I think it is. Wow, that extra tankiness as well as the Poppy too. And sniping away at that Twitch. There's enough from an Apple T to win the round. Isn't going to be any streak, though. Win, loss, and win. Not generally where you want to be at. But it is only Yiggles and a Rat to remain at 100 HP. And a Rat was the player with that Lissandra too.
So this is par for the course when it comes to Yiggles and a Rat's type of playstyle. We tend to see them start strong and then, slide in the mid game. And this is where the 2 players will actually separate. As a Rat, I think, is a little bit better at maintaining a top placement into the late game, where Yiggles has had a little bit of a hard time. The last time we've seen Yiggles here, she was going up against Jose Paulo, I think in like the middle of that 6 win streak that he had. But now time has passed. I'm really curious to see if Yiggles is going to be able to close out these games as well as she's able to open them so frequently in a lot of these games. You'll see her in the top 4 for most of the game. Whether she finishes there or not is the question that I'm asking. But in terms of where she is on her progression, I think that is kind of next up, and she might be able to show us that she's already there today.
Hopefully so. I mean, it's definitely a really great skill to have in TFT, is to show that you're able to make strong early game boards. It is the unfortunate, situation here where Yiggles runs into a Rat, which is a Rat's probably just going to be stronger. Even with these item slams, Talon just goes into the back line, gets onto both of those carries. Lissandra lives for so long, and yeah, that's going to be a 4-0. With Yiggles making all of those decisions, she's sold some units on the bench, couldn't win the round to make 20, slam both items, still gets chunked. I mean, that is rough, especially considering the fact that, like we were just saying, Eagles likes to start off the game with a win streak.
And now we have to start that over. Still not completely over, but this is where at least, someone like me playing at home might start to kind of snowball in terms of, oh, what do I do now? You almost feel like you're forced to make even more decisions after a loss, when in reality, maybe we just went up against the one person that can beat us in the lobby. With this particular team comp, that might be true. We've got 3 tier 2 units and a Morellos, so no wonder we were doing well. But the way that this comp works is a comp like this with the assassins might be a little bit of a hard time depending on how good Ziggs is at the free throw line.
Yeah, Caitlyn doesn't get an ultimate off. The Twitch is just shooting through, piercing all the backline. Looks like it's gonna be a 2-unit loss heading into the Krugs, but that's okay. Takes out another unit there. Only drops to 86. Again, players really liberal in their item slams. Shiv Giantslayer for Kuzma. Eagles has Morellos and Last Whisper. Erat has Runans and Morellos as well. So items that still can find their way onto multiple units. Not like it locks them into any specific composition. So I kind of like these item slams with that in mind. Just depends on, will they hit their ideal carries. With Erat, it could be Urgot. It could be Yone as well. Primary Runans users.
Khroen, let's just be real with the people here. This opening is good. For a rat, there's so much good here. Not just with the Morellos on one of the best Morello carriers, Lysandra too, who's been here for 5 rounds now. But it's the innovator opening along with some clutch tier 3 units coming in to play. So something like the Taric is going to make a certain unit stronger than its counterpart. So if you see a mirror and minus the Taric, this one should win out because of that spotlight. And it's in a pretty great spot for a spotlight as well, particularly for this unit right here, which is Heimerdinger. But if you're feeling frisky, go ahead and put the Ezreal in there as well. But it's going to be tough breaking through this front line, and let alone are you going to be tagging a bunch of people with a debuff. You also have the Last Whisper on the Ezreal, but also you've got the heals from the Taric. So we'll see how this kind of goes, because healing is very strong in this game right now, and that's something that a rat's going to be able to deal with himself too through the use of this Morellos.
Definitely Morellos on both sides of the board here. You talk about how strong Erat's composition is, and I definitely agree. This fight is a little bit close, but even if Erat wins this, I mean, they didn't streak all the way through stage 2. They actually lost round 2-6, are able to start maybe getting that win streak back, but I wonder whose composition did make it all the way through to kill that Lysandra too. Not quite sure, but Firestorm.
Another tier 2 unit.
I guess so. It's wild to be that strong. Firestorm is very rich right now. Level 6 on 3-2 is still 60 gold. Doesn't even have any, econ augments. Does have a Nico's help, however. That will certainly come into play when we get into, that level 7 or level 8 territory. I imagine this is going to be enough gold to go level 8 on 4-2, roll it down, kind of one of those standard game plans. And it'll be taking a lot of damage, especially up against a tier 2 Warwick like this, if it can't get bursted down.
Ooh, that's our... okay, once Warwick gets that first kill on that challenger buff, goes through, and you look up and it's not round 4 yet, you're probably going to be in a little bit of a world of hurt, and we get wiped here, and that is just a strong team comp with an anchor point, right? So there's not a lot of tier 2 units here. As you saw, Yiggles lost more tier 2 units in a fight that we saw earlier, but with the strength of this particular unit, the Warwick, you're able to invest that power, and it doesn't really matter what kind of is around it, other than the fact that they're meat shields and helping you with your challenger buff. As we get into our gold augments, I guarantee someone has portable forge, so we'll definitely see that as we look at Junkyard Stand United and something that wasn't chosen, but it's going to be the scrap.
Okay, yeah, Junkyard going to be printing out a random component every 3 rounds with that scrap active, so that's pretty good. They'll probably get a value from at least a couple of components. It is easy to run 2 scrap throughout the entirety of the game, especially with Janna, being a scrap. She's fits into pretty much every single composition. Yeah, Jinx, you can get there. A little bit less likely to run a Jinx in like every composition, but definitely can make it work with that for sure. The big concern for Firestorm is the amount of HP, right? 41 at 3-3. That's going to be almost like 1 hit, 1 life if they keep on losing. if they do want to level up at 4-2, they might have to just go all in at this 3-5 carousel if they take another big hit, which going up against a rat, they very well might.
Whew. All right, so we only have a stronger... Oh, actually, this is the same team that we saw a little earlier that seemed to struggle just a little bit. It's really all up to Lissandra and the ultimates, and these Yordles were way too close together. Lissandra pops him no problem, and that is not the type of loss that you want. 29 HP. We might not make it to our next PvE round, let alone our third augment, but we shall see. These scrap traits can kind of surprise you in power, especially once they tier 2. All of a sudden, they roll into a really good item, and what seemed like a paper thin wall earlier is all of a sudden a complete castle, wall surrounded by it. So anything can happen. We'll see if Firestorm here picks up something spicy like the spatula. Don't do it, or or something else.
Maybe.
Could be the spat. There we go.
Yone.
Yeah. And Spat on Yone is a nice little addition there as well. He does benefit from a good amount of those spatula items. As we come to our Shaco and Hydrated player from last week, doesn't seem like that's the case this time around, as I think we 3 out of 4 Shaco'd our last lobby. Or last time Comic Coil was here.
I think so. It was like Shaco is like busted. It's going to abuse Shaco. Shaco did get nerfed. Attack damage did go down from 85 to 80. Yeah, it looks like Firestorm is rolling it down, finds the Heimer 2, found the Blitz 2, found the Tarek 2 even, so upgrades just continuing to come through. I wonder what happened to that spat, though. I think that's the biggest question. Did they go something like Academy, play that? Yone, we'll check it out a bit later, but seeing Common Quail running just a bunch of upgraded units, besides for the Blitzcrank, everything's upgraded, and getting some binary drop value as well in that Tristana, getting a Banshee's Claw.
We got some free taunts with those bodyguards. I love that we're slamming brambles early on. I mean, like looking across the street from us right now, if an IE gets slammed onto this Warwick, which might because there's a Last Whisper, and anytime you see Last Whisper, you can almost assume an IE is coming. They just work so well together. They're definitely besties. They make bracelets for each other. And so... knowing that, putting something on like a Bramble early, especially if you have the components, you're going to use them for a Bramble later on anyway, and the lobby's already kind of teetering towards an AD lobby. This is a great slam at this point in the game.
Definitely a good slam. Common Quail doesn't really have any more options to slam right now until at least we get to the neutrals. See a lot of IE or pairings with the Last Whisper and some Last Whisper Runans as well. Because a couple of those items were slammed on that Warwick board for the Deathblade, it's kind of hard to justify building IE at that point, just because you've already used the 2 swords for the Deathblade, and it kind of serves a little bit of that same role, but it's still going to be a little bit less good at that point. Common Quail goes up against a Rat who, continued to go on that win streak, and is going to maintain that, Twitch being a good backline threat with, being an assassin, as well as holding 2 very, very good items. The Rat makes 50 gold, and... 5 streak going into those wolves.
Yeah, has the new and unimproved metabolic, which will not be giving health on this round, but it doesn't matter since Red did go back up to 100 HP. That's where that advantages come from, as first aid is going to be on the menu for a Common Quail. So this definitely opens up an enchanter direction with things like Oriana, things like Seraphine, but we'll see if that's going to be what things finish off as, because there's also things like this Fiora who benefit from first aid through their ultimates as they get those healed up, and you're going to get it from the Lulu right now anyways. It's going to be okay items. A lot of people have been building shivs so far, but we'll see if that's going to be the case. We could build a second Last Whisper.
Yeah, those items are a little awkward, actually. Maybe a Hodge, maybe a Titans. Yeah, we'll see. Wow, Yiggles on level 7 with a Kaisa already, and that is a perfect Morello's user. Kaisa did get nerfed coming to this patch. Her attack speed went down, I believe, by 0.1, but still good enough to carry this Morello's, especially at this point in the game, and Yiggles has 6 bodyguard.
Well, it's been a while since I've seen that.
Very long time.
There's a really fun augment that gives the units behind bodyguards their stats, which is, I think, thematically really cool.
Yeah.
But we'll see if we're going to get to see it. And what's really cool about Kaisa and Morello's, it is a guaranteed tag on every single unit on the board. And that's really nice because the only other time that can happen is a literal augment. The Sunfire augment is the only other thing that can truly do that 100% of the time. Kai says not 100% because she could die before the ult, but you guys get what I'm saying. She is going to get a 100% tag on that Morello's, which helps everyone else involved, especially if the mutant buff is active and it's execute or something like that. It'll be very helpful. But for now, we're just doing bodyguards and snipers with a random Kaisa here. We'll see how long of this Kaisa stays around. And what's something that I really like here is that you'll tend to see bodyguard emblems not on frontliners. You'll see them a lot on some carries in the back line, just like the Tristana here.
Yeah, I think we saw a bodyguard Kaisa carry win a fight night like I don't know, around like a month ago, maybe like 5 fight nights ago, something like that. It's very interesting, and there's even a more of an argument to just run like utility items on that Kaisa now. Just make sure she applies Morello's and leave, you know, your carry roll over to another unit, like we're kind of seeing Eagles do here, especially with the Kaisa attack speed being nerfed. The amount of damage she does is directly tied to how many times she attacks. So she's just going to be a little bit worse off in that role now.
This Tristana, though,
bodyguard doing nothing to her.
Exactly, the shield's there, right? So you're giving them a good opportunity to get to that first ultimate. And how many units do you say in your head, oh, I just got to get to that first ultimate, right? Bodyguards will get you there. So you'll see it on some other units. I've seen it on Seraphine do quite well. I had a bodyguard protector Seraphine get second in a lobby today. It was... I hated it, but I enjoyed the idea, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
it was just, I see that you took the healing nerf to heart, my friend, with these two emblems. But it is going to create a little bit more flexibility in carries a little bit later. We're stuck on AD, but this Tristana is going to stick around a little bit longer, and we might be able to get a tier 2 unit to replace it instead of having a panic pivot in the middle.
Well, Firestorm had to roll it all the way down on level 7 and did stabilize. It seems the Lux can get one more ulti off. Yes, okay. AP, obviously very, very good against bodyguards. They are not going to have those same resistance values against AD compositions. Firestorm is also one component away from a perfect build Lux. She's already tier 2'd. There's a Taric 2 with an Arcanist Spatula as well. So that's nearly just perfect. Firestorm just needs to get to level 8, find a sword, which, yeah, Firestorm picked that one up. Firestorm could go from 15 HP and make it all the way back to at least a top 4. That is very, very viable, especially with that socialite positioning. It's not terrible for Lux. You would like to backline her, but third rowing her, I think, is still sufficient.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of second guessing. I think Costiagles, that Gallia, she's going to be regretting that potentially as we're moving on up to level 8. And as you know, I like to say, out with the old, in with the new. Let's go ahead and get some new units on the board. That's really funny in 3 days. Everyone will see that. Comic Quell now going to be putting in that Blitzcrank to get some scrappiness, and we have some challengers. And so this is something I've actually been asked of frequently recently. I don't know if it's just the timing of it, but Khroen, why pivot this late in the game, right? You're at 37 HP, you're putting tier 1 units in for tier 2 units. When do you kind of know this is where it needs to happen?
Yeah, I guess like for me, you say pivot this late in the game, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's not that late. It's 4 or 5. It's like a typical pivot phase, but I guess to expand on that, right? That's what you set me up for. HP in TFT is a bit of a resource, right? Oftentimes players will, have a decent early game or just like full tank and have really good losses and get themselves to a point where they can go, on stage 4-2 or 4-5 to level 8, roll it down with 40 gold, and being level 8, obviously, you're gonna have a lot bigger of a chance to find legendary units. You're gonna have a lot better of a chance to even roll your tier 2-4 costs, and 30 HP, approximately. Common Quail after that loss has 24, but I think he had in the 30s the last round. He's going to be in a really good spot, especially now picking up that Fiora 2. If he does manage to get a rod off of these neutrals, he's going to be in position to top 4, I think, in the game, especially if that Kaisa upgrade can be found as well.
This is where
there it is.
And this is where you'll really find differences in players. Like, when you think about challengers and masters, it's really just a game of inches. But you'll see people like DQA do this entire thing in the blink of an eye, and he'll do it twice, right? And then go back to the original one all within the same 45 seconds for that pivot. But some other times you got to make sure that you're making the right decision. But what do we always say? The longer it takes to make your first decision, the shorter you have for any other decisions after that. So when you decide to pivot, that's when, you know, you're supposed to be intentional all game, but that's when you're going to be the most intentional. And let's see if this intention from Macabre and Quail's pivot from what it was before into challengers is going to work. We did race to a Kaisa 2. We do already know someone has it, and if there's any unit that's going to be able to come back from a deficit, it is going to be Fiora, as that's a Zonia's on the other side. So we did get a couple portable forges. This one with Rat, I know Kuzma had one a little earlier, and now we've got some big boys coming in. We got Scion moving on into the board. This is going to try to get a third socialite at some point, but Jin's going to be anchoring that damage.
Yep, third socialite, of course, being Galio. Hyperspace is going to go to level 8 next round. Would indeed, I think, just drop the Caitlyn. Don't really need Sniper for Jin. It is okay, but especially considering that the socialite hex is third row, it's going to be less sniper value if Hyperspace does want to keep Jin in that exact hex. We'll see, though. These items are not great for Jin. Maybe slam GA on him and you put like Archangels on a Seraphine. That's not going to be bad, especially considering she's been upgraded to Seraphine 2. Really just needs to find, again, that Galio. Is it going to come through? Because we already have Jin 2, we already have Scion 2. Those are the biggest units. Orianna 2 would be nice.
Hey, an Enforcer's nice. Man, these items are literally awful for this team comp, though. We can maybe... I think it's got to be an Archangels on one of the AP. Yep, and then we have Thornmail or GA.
Oh, Locket. Locket was buffed, actually. We didn't talk about that one yet.
Yeah. So we're thinking about it. We'll see if Hyperspace is going to do it as we see the Clockwork augment for the first time today. That Zonia's is going to be really difficult to work through, especially on a Tahm Kench. Oh, barely any damage, and you're seeing that Seraphine nerf right now too, and it's not just damage, it is the healing. That Scion felt that nerf probably harder than anyone else did on that board.
Yeah, I think the Seraphine nerf was just the healing. I think her damage is going to be the same.
It feels like she's doing less because she is doing a lot. Her damage is nerfed because she's not alive for as long, if that makes sense.
That is true. That is true.
So if you want to think about it in those terms, but this comp is probably going to be doing quite well. Tankiness, just now getting into the game, but as we were going into the win streak these last 6 rounds, I'm sure this Lux had a good old time with comps, maybe not like this, as the socialites might be okay. The Clockwork buff is there too. We got to get an ult from that Jin. We didn't really get there, as the Lux should be able to handle this, but any units with Yordles, any units with just snipers, right, they're going to have a hard time against this Lux. It's going to be about positioning at that point in time, and she forces you to position, but we know she's in the socialite hex, so we actually have some information to work with.
Yep. Haste goes down in 8th. Hyperspace drops to 1 HP. Firestorm, though, 7 win streak. Gonna be looking to push level 9. Almost everything's upgraded, just not the Yuumi. There's also a Ziggs 3, and you think about Ziggs 3, oftentimes you're like, all right, where's the Tahm Kench to feed it to? I'm not sure Tahm Kench will be making it a part of this board, unfortunately, but that's okay.
It still feels weird, man, to feed tier 3 units to Tahm Kench, regardless of if it's a Ziggs or not. At least satisfying to me. Well, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like the caring aspect of me, you know? It's like I spent so much time. You know?
No, you get attached to your units, Boof. Oh, no.
Yeah, you know, that's why I say, a piece of advice I give all the time is don't grow attached to your units, because you'll end up like me, and you don't want that.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, exactly. This Lux is absolutely just look at that damage chart. It's not even close, and that was only like 2 or 3 ults. So at this point, if you're running Exiles and you didn't know there was a Lux, congratulations, you've countered the Lux at least a little bit. But other than that, it really is going to be up to these players specifically to, I don't know, make sure that when the Lux ults, we're not losing 80% of our board.
Yep, positioning versus Lux, very important. I want to position on the same side as Lux, not exactly the opposite side. Have some farther units, whether they be, you know, some phony frontline or just some little, you know, dummy range units to sit in the corner. Something to bait the Lux, and then hopefully the fights are going to go fast enough Most compositions won't. Challengers definitely are known for their fast fight, so challenger boards, positioned same side, can deal with this Lux very effectively. Hyperspace did also go out in that last round, and pretty much all the HPs right now are getting to that point, Boop, where they are very, very close. No one is very far away on that top end. It is Yiggles with 35, Guzman with 32, Rat with 30, and Double T with 28, right? That's only a 7 HP gap between the top four.
Yeah, and we actually had a pretty strong early game from a couple of our players. So the fact that this is evened up means that at some point there was a point in the game where everyone was kind of going evenly with power, right? We get a tier 2 4 cost unit. Now I get a tier 2 4 cost unit. And now this is what it looks like as we're going to put Jace in the back line here. It's really funny to see the Kaisas, especially Yiggles, who has had that Kaisa for a bit, looking at some Kaisa 2s on some other boards. But we have Morellos on everybody, and that is just going to be a regular Seraphine ult. And it's going to be up to this Jace now to work through this HP. But now that the Jace has gotten stuck, it's really the Kaisa that was able to help everyone else through. As a Common Quail going to finish in the bottom 4 for what feels like the first time in a while.
Yeah, wow, that's not what we really expected to see out of Common Quail, especially having a very dominant performance last week with Shaco. But hey, if Shaco's not really on Common Quail's radar, or if he didn't, open the game with a good Shaco opener, that can happen. Other boards, I think, are pretty strong. Not sure exactly what he ran into. Bone Apple T took a big hit there. I think their Jinx actually got like Blitzcrank cooked, and she wasn't able to even ult in time before she got taken out. She cannot get Blitzcrank cooked from this angle though, unless a Zephyr comes through, but no Blitzcranks even here at all. Just Kuzma with that Eternal Winter in the front line.
We've got some interesting Urgot items as well, but they all make a good amount of sense. Shiv on Urgot's one of my favorite in terms of just it feeling really good on the unit. Is going to get it every single time. It counts as those 3 auto attacks, and you're seeing just how much damage that was. Lysandra actually coming in clutch with a good amount of damage as Bone Apple T it goes down in 5th place. Yiggles on fire now, starting to set themselves up for a potential lobby win. We've got 4 people remaining, and 3 of them are within 4 HP of each other.
Yeah, that's big. Also big is Yiggles being able to go level 9. Finding 2 Jaces in that shop right now. Only thing that we really need is Braum 2, Kaisa 2, and I think Yiggles kind of locks up this lobby win. Even going as far as to have 6 bodyguards still, Janna frontlined as a bodyguard. She's not gonna die, I don't think, unless it's like getting one-shot by a Lux, and she'll always get her ult off, heal up everybody on Eagles' board, or nearly everybody. Might not hit the Jace in the back line, but also the CC that her ult provides is going to be huge. Allows Jace, allows Kaisa more time, and time is very nice for items like Archangels, right? You stack up, you're going to be more powerful as the fight goes on. I love how Eagles has positioned this board and how she's made it to this point in general.
Yeah, Yiggles passing on the first Yone 2, gonna grab the second one, deciding to put it in for the Academy buff. I don't know, maybe knew that the Yone was coming through on the next round, but this should be against Firestorm based off of the fact that both of them are on fire. We'll see if it's gonna be Kuzma. So Kuzma will try to knock Yiggles off of that win streak, and Firestorm and Rat now are gonna be locked in a potential elimination matchup. I don't know if Rat has a comp that can take Firestorms, but let's talk about the one on the field right now. We've got flat damage on that Urgot after we get that 25 stacks, and I do like that when it comes to the Urgot. A lot of the percent damage coming in with the Giant Slayer, but we're not going to see it that much longer, as it doesn't matter what you can do against an IE Rageblade Last Whisper Jace. Pretty good unit there in the back line, as there's a second Jace 2 on the board. Yiggles might have wanted to hold on to those Jaces earlier. We might have been able to block that.
Definitely could have. Oftentimes, CFC players don't really put as much weight into blocking units at the times that they should. Oriana 2 comes through, but isn't going to play it. Can drop out a 6 bodyguard, I think, and yeah, it is going to make that decision, running 3 enchanters now. So going to be protected against Firestorm's mages a bit better, or Arcanists, excuse me, and yeah, a good time to swap those in.
Yeah, and Firestorm lost last round, so could be another loss here, and I think the Jace is in a pretty good spot for this. Needs to get onto the Lux, but the Lux isn't getting more than halfway through. That damage doesn't have an Archangels, but the Victor butters him up and takes him down, and the Seraphine ult is awful to go up against it. But what that tells me is that's a winnable game, a winnable round for Yiggles the next time we go there. We just got to position differently, or maybe the Lux is in a different position and wins it for us.
Yeah, I think the Jace being where he was, I mean, tanked a few Lux ultimates, but it just wasn't in a good spot to deal with the rest of the board, right? Because it got stuck on a Vex 3 for so long. Is going to now perhaps put the 6 bodyguard back in, because it's likely that they do go up against a rat. Trying to consider, right? It feels bad to drop a tier 2 Orianna. And yeah, just still runs with that 4 bodyguards. The Kaisa 2 still needs to come through, but still, I think is likely to win this round. But I don't know, that Tahm Kench just had a lot of time to grow stronger.
Ooh. Oh, man. A lot of displacement on the field. That is not what you wanted to see. And at least we got like a consolation Blitzcrank hook there, as this is going to be a loss. But it wasn't enough, as we have 3 players at single-digit HP at the 6-4 carousel. These are going to be important items.
Yiggles, maybe grabbing Academy Banshees would be nice, but that actually... it gets sniped away!
Yes, metabolic, by the way. It's the first time I've seen that get used on actual carousel. Oh! Tactician's Crown as well for Rat.
Okay. There we go. Tactician's Crown, what do we run, though? Only 8 gold to find a unit worth even playing. Rolling it down, Scrap would be nice. I guess Scholar is not bad either, giving Tahm Kench a little bit more health. Banshee's Claw to protect that Urgot. Positions the Tahm Kench on left side. Okay, not bad versus this board.
Should get a Taric kill. It gets enforced, blocks the Blitzcrank hook in the back line. Jinx moves up for the ult. Jace is not stuck on a tank unit right now, but does get bursted down. Eventually, just too much power coming through on that board. As Firestorm is going to be just fine. Yiggles, though, not going to be the case. This was a strong top 3. A third place there is good for anybody in that situation.
It is.
I would have been stoked for a third in this lobby, to be honest with you.
I think it does feel a little bit bad, though, when you do go like fast 9, you hit your legendary at 2-star, right? Your Jace 2, but you just never hit your other carries, and you know, you lose. Because the rest of these boards are strong. I'm totally with you there. These Vex 3 frontline, Victor 2, Lux 2, perfect items. It's just unfortunate. Yiggles 1 HP, couldn't really hold it down, though, but a Rat versus Firestorm could be the last round of this game.
All right, Urgot versus Lux. Jinx survives the first ult, gets into the second one. A great placement in terms of damage. Misses the Lux ult as well. The Lux is vulnerable, and it looks like a Rat should be able to take this, as Lux has already fallen.
Yep.
The coronation is here. The Lux does fall. Demacia will have to wait a little bit longer, as a Rat will take this lobby. Led at the beginning and led at the end.
A Rat really showing their power yet again. You know, they had a few wins in a row, I believe, actually, just a little bit ago, and now they're back saying, hey, I'm here to play, even though it's a new patch. I'm going to play it just fine. I think that game was really just a portable Forge diff. That Zhonya's on the Tahm Kench was absolutely beautiful. Allowed him to stack up for the horse the whole game. Also farming items, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the scores. Of course, we know a Rat got first, but to remind ourselves where everybody else ended up, Firestorm dropped super, super low in the early game, but then a very nice roll down on level 7 to get Lux, stabilized, and allowed them to get a second place. Yiggles third, Kuzma fourth, then Bon Apple Tea, a Common Quail, Hyperspace, and Ace down the line there, Boop.
And so what we need to look at is exactly what I think everyone is looking at right now, is Hyperspace and Ace coming back, but more importantly, Common Quail, who has shown that they're able to do it. But when we start off like this is when a Common Quail does tend to fall off. You know, the game is very mentally based, right? You gotta stay focused, you gotta stay on top of it. Sometimes a result is how you get knocked off your chair. And then round 1, you cannot let that happen. And sometimes that happens at the top end, right? You get a win, and then all of a sudden you kind of relax, and everything goes poorly. So everyone needs to continue playing like it's the first game going into the second lobby. But we got to see a good smattering of a bunch of different comps there. We got some Yordle starts, we had a really good Enchanter start. A Rat had a really good start there, ended up winning out the lobby. Urgot wins the lobby at the the end of the day, which is really interesting. Was able to get good best in slot items there with the Jinx in the back line. But the Lux, I think, has got to be what kind of really posted itself for me in that last lobby, like how easily it got to where it was from 15 HP.
Yeah, it was a huge level 7 roll down. It found a lot of Vexes, found that Lux 2 had perfect items. I mean, once you get perfect item Lux 2 online and you have a sufficient front line, unless you're going up against like assassins, which there weren't any in that lobby, you're probably just going to win almost every single round, assuming your positioning is at least half decent. And that's what happened there that last game. So I think well played based off of what the rest of the lobby was showing from Firestorm. And that's a thing that TFT players, it's a hard skill to always recognize. Like, how should I play based off of this specific lobby? Because sometimes that Lux is still going to go 7th or 8th because of the other compositions.
Right, and that's the most frustrating thing. I was playing with a friend a couple days ago, and they had all tier 3 Yordles and got 7th, and that friend was me in a tournament. And I was, and you're like, what happened? And it's like, oh, my items are awful, right? Like, you can't just say, oh, I got the comp, we should be good. Like, you could go on a website right now and notice that if you lock in Innovator 7, you have a 50% chance to get top 2. So when you don't get top 2, you got to figure out why, right? Because it's not always just the comms, not always just the items. But as we move into our first augments here, it's just tier 1. Unstable Evolution's actually pretty good if you're able to get it early. And tier 2, those units. Mutants actually very, very consistent right now, not winning a ton of lobbies, but definitely top 4ing a massive amount of them. As we get 2 tier 2 units here, we can sell the 2 on the bench if we wanted to, if we're just feeling like it. But we're going to go ahead and keep, for 2 whole extra gold. But wow. I am genuinely curious how long Portable Forge is going to be where it's at augment-wise. I think 2 out of our top 3 had it last round, but that Zonius on Tom Kench was, and that's just the first one we saw, right? Think about all the other combinations we're about to see now that they're able to get it literally in the first 2 augment rounds.
Yeah, both of them top forward. Kuzma had one, he got 4th, and then a rat had the other one and won the lobby. So pretty good augment, especially being at gold. I think that's kind of a perfect spot for it. It always kind of felt awkward at Prismatic. True.
Yeah.
Huh.
Right. So that's the other exciting thing. I've not seen it, but it is definitely a possibility. But as you were saying, right, it's items that other people don't have access to that have a ton of upside, and the downside of taking up a spot right now just doesn't really seem to exist. Like in terms of taking an augment spot and a player spot for your unit, at this point I think it's just worth it. I mean, it gave Tom Kench a second whole life, you know, which equals items, which equals more wins, which ended up equaling a potential lobby win if you get to see it again. But imagine having it right now in round 2-1 against someone who doesn't. The Orin item will most likely win that round, unless it's a bad Blitzcrank cook. But even then, it's still pretty good.
Definitely. I think it is very, very good. Something on that last round I do want to highlight from Yiggles is definitely her player preference. We talked about it in game 1, wanting to play strong board, wanting to have high HP moving into, Krugs and farther. But as in any TFT game, you cannot guarantee you will play the strongest board. Yiggles chose, instead of to play 3 Yordles, make Econ, to level up to 4 and try to just force a strong board, but you can't always make that happen. I think that shows a little bit of stubbornness and rigidity, where, I mean, Yiggles probably, in other situations, should reconsider. Sometimes you have to just play the weak early game board, make Econ, and have that be your play style. But you can choose to do it there, and might get punished for it.
Yeah, leveling up and then losing is, unless you're able to lose, which is hard to do when you level up at round 1.
Yep.
Unless
you won that round, so
it's going to reset your economy. And some people would rather have HP than money at this point in the game, and Yiggles definitely seems like the type. It worked out last game, right? We got both of our early starters ended up top 3ing, which were Rat and Yiggles. So we know that it works, but there are points in time where, you're sitting there and you have that opportunity to level up, especially at an awkward time like 2-2, where you just shouldn't. You might lose, right? You might end up with, 6 HP less than you're used to. But at the end of the day, that might be the better play. because you're going to end up with not just 1 or 2 more gold, but a substantial amount of more gold if you're able to lose streak that, for example.
Definitely. Substantial amount of gold. I mean, you want to be able to make econ in the early game, get yourself up to 50, and I mean, that was kind of the situation that Firestorm was at last game. The econ was insane, leveled up to 7 at 3-5, and had probably even more than 50 gold to roll down with and hit a ton of units there. So, econ in the early game, right? Can't overlook that one. Move back to Common Quail. We did briefly see Ace, and Ace actually had an Assassin heart, so we'll be running Assassins, I would imagine, for our first time that we see them this weekend, or this week, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. We got a couple bruisers here for a common quail. Not a rare quail, but a common one.
Just a common one.
Not on radio, but on TV as well.
Yeah.
Probably cable, not cable, it would be local television. So like your local PBS,
the local
most
nature
likely.
channel.
Yeah, exactly, where you can find a common quail on his off time. But yeah, this Trundle's kind of strong. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Trundle, yeah, Common Quail might even consider going Trundle 3 in this position.
Good unit. Always seems to sneak in as an overpowered unit at some point in its life cycle, Trundle, no matter what set it is. There's some great videos online. But yeah, this Trundle should be here for a while, especially with the scrap bonus. It's going to 50-50 the Blitzcrank and the Trundle, but either one is totally cool.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So we got the Bloodthirster there. If we got like a Sunfire Cape or Warmogs on the Blitzcrank, that would have been good. Tanking, I think we win this regardless of who gets the scrap flip, but in 2 rounds, that might not be the case. So we'll see.
You'll see, indeed. Bunapple T with 3 Syndicate with the Shaco as well, so we might have a couple of Assassin players all of a sudden. I would be really curious to see how Shaco can fare in a meta where some 4-cost units have been buffed and Shaco gets nerfed. Sure, I agree, he was a little bit too strong last patch when you're able to get a good opener, but he might be a bit too weak now. I think the question remains to be answered. I think another question remains to be answered is who's going to be the one that win streaks into Krugs? Is it going to be a Common Quail or a Rat, or perhaps both of them if they dodge each other?
Yeah, I think the one thing that everyone should realize about Assassins, right, is whenever Assassins are good, they're usually tuned to be worse than all of the other comps, right? And this is why, because only one person, I feel like, is allowed to run Assassins in a lobby, right? So if that is the case, you can't have a bunch of good Assassin units, or else a bunch of people can run Assassins. And that's not good for the health of a game like this, usually. So what will happen is it creates a situation where only one person runs it, so it's a question of, you know, tier 3 Shaco versus the world, or a la the Blade Masters a little while ago with Master Yi, or some other similar types of compositions that have lived that same kind of archetype.
I know, it was really frustrating, especially when we were in that Katarina meta of multiple players forcing Katarina, and, you know, if they hit, they get top 4, both of them. That's not a very good feeling. There was actually one exception to that as well. I think it was during Challenger Series. There was a day where there was 2 different Assassin comps making top 2. I think one was played by DQA, one played by Solus, one was Katarina Shaco focused, one was like 5 Imperial Talon, but the Talon being tier 3. So it can happen, but definitely very rare for it. And it feels bad if it's a meta where that's kind of the thing that people trend towards.
Yeah, and I think that's good, just good general balance, right? So while the whole thing might be tuned a little lower, a tier 3 version of that comp might be stronger than every other thing, right? That's how TFT works. So now it's like kind of, instead of are you going to lock in Shaco and win, it's are you going to lock in Shaco and hopefully the rest of the lobby doesn't lock in their tier 4s. Right, that's kind of how I see it now. You'll probably beat the people who don't lock in their tier 4s. You'll probably lose against the ones that do.
Yep, exactly. Moving into stage 3. Still have Rat and Common Quail, both 100 HP. They dodge each other so far. Hyperspace runs up against Bone Apple T with the Nikos on the bench, and not many items slammed, just the IE glove on the Shaco. Still a long way to go. Has a pair of Shacos, and it's that position, Boop, where you're like, do I just Nico this Shaco to hit Shaco 2, and then I can push levels, or do I greed it out for that tier 3? It looks like Pineapple T wants to greed it out, try to get tier 3 Shaco.
I mean, you are saving 3 gold at the end of the day, right? So, you know, sometimes that is a big difference. So you'll have to talk about it there. I'll never forget you know, why don't you just luck into a 4-cost unit, Nico's, and then sell them both for 8 gold? Which, you know, in theory sounds like a really good idea, especially in the early game, but I don't think that's going to be the case here when it comes to Shaco. You should be able just to roll into it in any other game, except for this one, as we do end up going into it, but it is contested. We do have good items for it. We still need a bow. You can put a Hodge onto it. Hodge, I think, did get a little bit of a buff this patch, so you might see like a constellation buff. Like basically, if a bow doesn't appear, you'll see the Hodge get slammed.
Yep. Really wants that bow though. It would feel really bad to not have it. Yeah, it'd feel real bad to not have the last whisper. And I think actually wants a couple of bows as well. One wants to be a last whisper. One wants to be a Runan. I think it's kind of best in slot Shaco. It's gonna be okay for now.
Slowly. That's like that's the thing that always gets me is like just a little bit of attack speed sometimes is nice. That's why I like running him and build different comps. Personally. So we get another tier 1. Nothing too crazy out there. No, Ornn's gonna have to stay in his forge for now. This is actually not a bad. I think I saw Knife's Edge.
Yeah. You did.
Not a terrible Knife's Edge comp. Actually, none of these are awful. It's kind of player preference for 2 of them.
I would argue Ascension is not very good in Assassins because usually they want to, you know, end fights very, very
in a
quickly.
Bubble though.
Yeah, sure. They will get some value, probably not as much as the other 2. But that glove did turn into another IE for the Katarina, and still has an extra glove. So needs just 2 bows, and there we go. Perfect item, Shaco.
Yep, just take one from each arm, and you're good to go, right? Yeah, you've got everything you need at the ready. As we fall into a Merc matchup, there should be a win.
Oh, Yiggles running Merc is super interesting, actually.
That is very not Yiggles-like. So I'm super excited for that. It is anti-Yiggles, even though she's having a hard time losing in 5th place right now, playing Mercs. That should knock her down quite 1 spot. And
quite a 1 spot.
By 1 spot, as Ace and Kuzma both won out their round. So Yiggles should continue to lose. We'll see for how long, but
there's no bows.
Oh, man.
That's tragic.
You saw the body language there, too, huh?
Yeah, just like, what do I do now? Like, it might just end up having to be like a BT Slam on a Shaco.
It's fine. It's a great item on Shaco. Yeah, one of the better users of it.
For sure. It's not, you know, perfect, but oftentimes even in TFT, you gotta make do with, you know, not perfect items.
Yep, that's how I got married. My husband said that to me. It's not perfect, but you've got some good items, so...
I should have known it was some of the self-deprecating humor coming through, but I thought you were like BMing your husband really quick. I was like, damn,
no, I would never.
That's kind of mean.
No,
that's
that
makes more
fair.
sense. But also, you know, not true. You're great, Boop, but...
Yeah.
yeah. You can tell,
I
know,
believe
totally
you.
didn't believe that. Yeah,
exactly. No,
it's fine. We'll work on that one.
Everyone should have hope for themselves, and I'll work on my self-esteem as we go forward. But a Common Quill having a much better game this time around. And you're just seeing the power of Trundle. The trolls are going to war, my friends. And should be a-okay for a couple more rounds. I don't really see, if we lose, it's going to be by 1 or 2 units, and it seems like that is the case. We lost last round. We're still at 90 HP, and at round 3-3, that's really not that much. So as we move into the mid to late game at round 4-1, Common Quill has definitely set himself up quite good, as also maintained a quite flexible position in terms of where we're going to go on our carries, because both of those items could go somewhere else.
Quill's rolling here. Pretty... I mean, yeah, okay. The Common Quill is going to be staying on 6, rolling for just Trundles. I was like, wait a minute. Why is he rolling? But then I remembered, yeah, we're going to go Trundle 3. Has not hit any more Trundles, however, since we last saw them so many rounds ago. And I think a Common Quill might be getting baited into sticking with this, though, right? There was an Urgot. Could have just pivoted into a generic Urgot Bruiser board. Had enough gold to push levels. HP is fine. This might be a bit of a stubborn call here by Common Quill.
Yeah, Bone Apple Tea did end up getting, you know, those Shaco items. and look at how much better that's already happening for us. We did lose a good amount of HP, but unlike the old Nocturne comps, the Shaco comps don't lose as much HP in the early game. But we have a bunch of mutants on the table right now. It's just going to turn into bruisers. We still have a 6th bruiser we can put in. Once we level up, we'll probably take a Zac away and put the Cho'Gath in. But this is a really late time to put Cho'Gath in. Not a ton of stacks. We'll have to hopefully get multiple stacks around, which could happen because we do have a double bruiser buff here. So, you know, you get 2 bruiser augments. You probably should go play bruisers.
Definitely really wants to grab 6. Could instead of the Cho'Gath run a Tahm Kench, but we're a little bit far away from that. What do we know? Firestorm is running AP yet again. Yordles yet again to generate Econ. And Twisted Fate as the item carrier. Everything looks pretty normal here. We are 2 components away from perfect item Lux. Just needs 1 sword for the IE, 1 more tier. Or a sword, honestly, for the Lux for a Shojin. Lux attack speed was buffed coming into this patch, and even the note itself in the patch notes said that, yeah, the intent of this was to make Shojin Lux feel a little bit better in case, you know, you don't get those 2 tiers.
All right. I mean, it's good to have constellation items built into the game, right?
Yep.
Can't get Last Whisper, build a Hodge, right? Can't get, can't get your best in slot Lux. There are a couple different places you can go. Shojin's being one of them if you don't get your blue buff, right? So you need the IEJG, but now you have a little bit of flexibility when it comes to the blue buff / tier item that you have. But this is the thing about Fight Night, is sometimes we can be a little slow to adjust, and we'll just leave Lux open for all 4 lobbies. I wonder if Firestorm is going to be able to do that for, 2 more lobbies after this, because we're definitely going that direction right now. I definitely be at least looking into Lux at this point.
Yeah, I think wants to just hit level 8, probably at 4-5. There is an argument, depending on how these next few rounds go, to wait until after Raptors to level up, because the gold isn't that high for Firestorm. We're barely at 50. I guess we have a lot of units on the bench that can be sold, like these extra Zyras, extra Ziggs as well. So it could still be a 4-5.
All right. The TF should be able to knock out a couple units. Yeah, so we got some lucky crits there. Oh, okay. Thank goodness for some Morello burn. 4 units, not awful. This is much better already than we had in terms of HP last lobby. I think we're already at 17 at this point, or 15 at this point. So we're already feeling pretty good. This should be a pretty revealing round, though, in terms of which direction we're going to go.
Definitely, as we get after that carousel. As far as I'm going to greed, or are they going to level up? Definitely curious to see which decision that's going to be, and what item they go for on the carousel. Are they going to be okay with going for a sword because it's okay to get 2 swords? Or are they going to be like, no, I only want blue buff, and go for that one very aggressively? They haven't had any swords drop at all, so based off of how the item drop kind of table works, you're going to be likely to be dropped at least 1 sword. There is an extra bow, though, which does kind of suck. Shiv would not be bad, but again, need those tiers for either blue buff or a Shojin's.
Oh, we're going to potentially win this round out, depending on where these rockets go. Ooh. Yeah, we get rid of the Urgot. Some really good Twisted Fate arrows. I want that Twisted Fate on my team, not the one that I'm playing. We actually...
blue card, never stunned.
Oh,
TF,
my goodness. Just call me Reggie. What can I say? Also, I always bring it up anytime I say Reggie during a TFT thing. If your name is Reginald and you are playing a set 2, which is where TF got to pick a card, you actually would never get a yellow card.
Yeah, it would always be blue cards.
It would always be blue cards if your name was Reginald. League of Legends has dozens of things like that. I think the most famous one is that if you have sunglasses on, Leona does 1 damage less to you.
Yep.
But there's some other stuff in there too. But less about the overall Summoner's Rift lore and a little bit more about the convergence in front of us. They might be suffering from a little bit of a firestorm, a Cat 5 firestorm, if we're able to get that Lux on, because there is nobody competing for it, and these teams are skinny right now. So that Lux should be able to rip through units, even at tier 1. Maybe even, you know, a Victor could be the case there as we move on over to Rat. These are some pretty strong upgrades. This is the second time we've seen Yone potentially upgraded on the bench. We're actually just going to pass it instead, but keep the other two. It just kind of goes to show that they're sellable at the moment. What are we rolling for is the question. Everything is the answer. We've got the Urgot, the Janna, the Mundo, and the Tarek still.
Actually, okay. I think if you asked like 20 TFT players in a Rat spot what you would do in that roll down, I'm pretty sure it would be near a 50-50 as to, you know, what direction you go. Or like there'd just be a bunch of different answers, right? What units you upgrade, should you have made the Yone and gone that direction from this spot? Because nothing from the augments is locking a Rat into going Urgot. It is just the units that he has on the board. But very easily, this like, what is it, Mundo 1? Oh, okay, we do get a prismatic augment here. Twin Shot Soul will be very nice. I think that'll be the pick here. But anyways, I mean, a Zac 2, Vi 2, sure, those are decent. But like a Mundo 1, only having one Urgot, it very well could have been a Yone pivot. The only thing that I think gets us away from that is going to be the lack of one singular bow and one singular either glove or sword, which could come through on these Raptor rounds. Maybe a Rat didn't want to greed, and if their items were scuffed after that, their Yone build would be suboptimal and they would lose out because of that. Didn't have any Fioras either, but if a Rat never hits this Urgot too, you gotta ask yourself, should I have just gone Yone?
Right? I mean, we saw the Challenger pivot with the Common Quail last round, right? Or I think it was the Common Quail, and I actually got a 6th.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes it is the best choice, sometimes it isn't. I think we had a little bit of time that could have been a little bit better, but Rat in almost exactly the same position as we saw Quail in last time around. Will the fortunes be a little bit different here as Zac is going to be the one that's enforced? That's a pretty good scenario, actually, as this Urgot finally does get to start getting going, but we have an Urgot on the other side with best in slot items. That's... A Deathblade's going to beat a non-Deathblade Urgot 10 out of 10 times. That's how that item works, right? It's flat stats. You're going to get more as you tier 2 it as well. And now it's kind of between Yiggles and a Rat on who gets that Urgot. And right now, you're always going to give it to the person who recently won, which is Yiggles. She's going to have potentially more time to find it. As we move back over to Firestorm, no Luxes at all so far, but it does seem like we're trying.
Yeah. Firestorm, I think they don't have any Luxes because they didn't roll it down at 4-5. They wanted to greed until after Raptors. I think that is the correct call. They still won a couple of rounds in Stage 4 with those TF items. And depends on what this roll down is going to look like here. It might not be... there's no sword that comes through, so Lux items I think will be a little bit scuffed. How much does Firestorm roll down? Immediately finds a Yuumi and a Victor, both fantastic units to run. But the mouse movement's a little bit slow, Boop, as you... I know you love to point that one out, and
it's
I'm
a big
with you there.
deal. It is a big deal. I think it shows a lot of what a player is thinking, right? The slower the movement, the more they're thinking.
It's real slow.
Yeah, that is when I say, I think I can hear them thinking about this move, right? Is this situation right here. Whenever the items go on after the time has gone, that means we are running out of time. We don't even get a first initial tag potentially on the Morellos. It's going to go on the Yuumi. We have good positioning, so it's not going to tag every single person. The Urgot's on our carry now. Oh, man, this is not going well. But the Yuumi does get onto their Urgot, but there's only so much these units can do. Even though this is a tier 2 Darius with a good amount of healing attached to it. That's a lot of healing.
Yuumi.
Making these interesting. Firestorm, though, going to lose out 26 gold and 15 HP, but this is kind of like the lucky HP amount here.
Selling a Heimer with 5 Heimers and a Nico, still having about 35 plus gold to roll. That's such an interesting decision, I think. I thought Firestorm's kind of only out there was going Heimer 3, and I actually thought that would have been a fantastic thing to go from this position. I don't know. Here's a couple of Luxes, but just rolls past him at this point. Wow.
I guess we're going all in on the Victor.
Blue buff Victor doesn't feel good. And places the item on the Swain, which then he has to immediately sell. I don't think I've seen someone this dizzy since Kyun couldn't count to 9.
It's that one that you're choosing, or not the
Sure,
the
it's
Merc
the
Street
recent
loss?
one. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the Mercs. I mean, it's like he wasn't even like dizzy there. He wasn't dizzy till after the round. It's like he didn't know what happened. Then the dizzy came through, but
7 + 2 = 8. As we have a tier 3 Shaco now, Bone Apple T is going to be the one who is going to be using it. That means it was blocked elsewhere. We got a tier 3 Zac and Trundle, so we're doing some hyper rolling right now, especially at level 7. And we have that augment that gives us a random 40% chance of a free reroll every time we roll, and that helps us get to those tier 3 units, and we're going to have 3 of them next round. We'll be able to get there, no problem, at 49 HP.
Yep. Going to keep the Rod on the Echo for scrap value. Could make a Locket there, which with the Locket buffs honestly isn't terrible. But it's not going to sell a Jace or an Echo to go Vi 3. It's just going to say, all right, whatever, let's lock. If you win, you can sell the Alawi. If you lose, next round. That is a Kaisa 2, though, for Firestorm, so this comp just keeps getting different and different. I don't know what direction it's going, but either way, it's going to be losing.
Yeah, that's the direction that it's going. That is a prime example of making too many decisions.
Yep, exactly.
You have to commit to one of them. If you're constantly making decisions, what is the kind of colloquialism? You'd rather 5 people all make the same wrong decision than have them make 5 separate decisions.
Yep,
right.
Exactly.
It's the same kind of thing here. Just commit to one of them, even though in the deepest of your hearts and knowledge, you know that this isn't optimal. It is more optimal than the next decision you're going to make in terms of pivoting again. Right.
Yeah,
the more time it takes for you to make that decision, the weaker you're getting. That's just how it happens. So we got to see that a pretty big in flashing lights on this particular comp with Firestorm.
There's very select times, I would say, where continuing to make your board something different every single round is actually optimal. Like sometimes, if you're a really, really good judge at what a strong board is, you can get away with it. But for Firestorm there, it wasn't happening, unfortunately. They had a good comeback. Game number 1 just wasn't able to make it happen.
They knew they needed to roll without knowing what to do after the roll, right? That's kind of what it is. Only knowing 50% of the process and hoping that while you're doing that 50%, the other 50% will get to you. And sometimes that happens, right? Some people have that luck, and I don't like you. But other times, it's a little bit different. And that's going to be one of those things that really separates, I think, some of the top tier from like the middle top tier, which is decision-making time. Right, you can make a bunch of actions, but we've seen DQA make that same mistake before. So there's definitely a balance there on knowing when to stop, knowing when to edit. My big thing, like when I make an ice cream sundae, is that I have too many toppings, right? And eventually it's just not even ice cream, right? Actually, it's just hot fudge and sprinkles, right?
It's like, how did I get here? Like,
and exactly. And I think we made a sundae instead of making good ice cream.
I actually love that you bring up the DQA example there, because DQA is often a player who is going to be really on top of those really quick roll downs and do it really optimally. But even sometimes the best players get a little bit like what direction am I actually going here? What am I going to end up at? And it's, TFT is a game where you can never play it perfectly, right? You're always going to be learning, always going to be making better decisions, or can make better decisions. So it's hard.
This scrap comp is so fascinating. I feel like it should be doing better than it is.
The Trundle?
Yeah, the Trundle. It should be stealing the attack damage from the Fiora, for example, but man, Frozen Heart on Fiora is so good. But this tier 3 Zac isn't going to be able to do much more other than cause a nuisance, and we get another item.
That's really big, actually. A TK1, no items, farming more items. That's
nerfed big. TK1,
exactly.
Farming more items.
Shaco 3, can it get through the... Oh my god, that Scion, what? It's slapping.
It's trying. What's so funny is if we went completely tank, that Scion probably wins that round. It's the one Morello's there. One of the best Morello's users. Unfortunately, I think if we had the Gargoyle Stone Plate or some type of defensive item, that would be better. You don't absolutely hate the Locket anymore. Seeing it at this point, we'll probably just slam it onto the Yuumi and call it a day.
Players are still, it looks like, really averse to building Lockets, even when like the components are there. Like Yiggles has the components for a Locket on the bench. Of course, Tom Kench, so you can farm more items, but just says, nope, Locket equals bad. And that's that kind of concept like you brought up earlier. TFT players are just kind of stubborn, stuck in their ways sometimes. Changes come through and they're like, nope, I'm just gonna do what I'm used to and not really push the boundaries, push the barriers of what's actually good and what's not.
I got a good metaphor for this. I'll continue with ice cream, right?
Sure,
We
yeah.
literally just said, hey, you need to make vanilla good, but then sometimes someone is like, hey, you want some chocolate? And then you're like, how could you?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I'm not used to that. That's new.
Why
That's
would I ever
scary.
change this ice cream to
Yeah.
that ice cream when this ice cream is good? Right? That is exactly what you're describing. As this team comp is really interesting. It is
Very.
potentially going to top 4. This Talon 3 has been around for a while, but we have 5 Imperials now. And look at how much damage it's going through. Tier 3 don't matter if it's just HP, and you don't even need the damage mitigation in terms of the Last Whisper, but too much damage there, and we might get an item or some gold.
This shouldn't kill the Swain, but can Swain deal enough
we'll get
damage?
there again.
Oh, so close.
Oh,
And there's the item.
No. At least this one has a blue buff on it,
Yep.
as Shaco 3 living on the edge.
Living on the edge of defeat, and that is going to be defeat. One Apple T out in 6. Shaco not able to do the job. Yiggles going out as well, actually. So we have our top 4.
Our top 5? 3 out of our top 5 from last round, finishing in the bottom 4. This time, Rat, our winner from last lobby, finishing in 8th place. Firestorm got 2nd. Yiggles got 3rd. Common Quail got 6th. And so the standings are going to be very, very close at the end here. Ace, I believe, got 7th or 8th last time and is untapped for a top 4, potentially more. This comp should be okay if we don't get stuck on the Scion. Which is exactly what just happened, but there's a lot of bleed happening right now for that Talon, and there's a lot of CC happening on everyone except for the person firing on that Scion. Has enough time been wasted? The answer is yes, as the Jin and the Jace in the backline should be enough. That's going to be it for our Imperial comp. Is it going to be a 4th or a 3rd? It looks like it's going to be a 4th place.
Yep, should be. Hyperspace does go out, but they have -6 HP, so they will take the 3rd. Now it's Common Quail versus Kuzma. A Common Quail showing that re-roll Trundle still very much good, still in the meta, but I don't think it'll be able to stand toe-to-toe against Kuzma's board. There's too much front line. There's a Jin 2, Jace 2, very strong carries in the back line, and the Giant Slayer on the Jin is a huge, huge deal, especially when we're going up against 6 bruisers like this.
Yeah, Last Whisper Giant Slayer, particularly going to be good here. You don't necessarily need the IE because the buff here is almost just all health, I believe, outside of the Shroud and outside of the Zac. So it's all about just pure damage. So that Last Whisper Giant Slayer is going to be ripping through no problem, and that's not even close.
Yeah. About how you expected. I honestly thought a Common Quail would have 2 lives left there, but no, Kuzma already is going to be the winner of that game, and goes to show, hey, Giant Slayers are pretty good when people have massive HP pools. Another player had double War Mugs, a player running Bruisers. That is a very smart identification from Kuzma to build the Giant Slayer, and I think that's 2 Kuzma Jin games back-to-back. Jin, definitely a very strong carry, even in a world where Urgot was just buffed, Lux was just buffed. Jin still coming out on top.
Just like Summoner's Rift, there's something about the design of that character that's just so good that it'll just stick around, right? I call him a sticky character a lot of the time because he'll always be good, just based on the design of his character. Might be weaker at other times, but as of right now, I think does have a place in the meta as we have our scores, which should be pretty close based off of the results from that last game.
Let's take a look here, and most of them are, but there is one player, of course, who is well above the rest. It is going to be Kuzma, the only player to top 4 both games, 4th in game 1, and a 1st in game number 2 with 16 points. A Rat, a Common Quail, and Yiggles all tied in 2nd with 11 points, and Firestorm with 10, Hyperspace with 9, Ace and Apple T with 7 points apiece. So no one's on the bottom, right, by a large margin. Everyone is still has the potential to get back at least to the top 4, if not win Fight Night, right? So these last couple of games are going to be very impactful for everybody, Boop.
I mean, totally. For 7 people in the lobby, if you, like, or for 4 people in the lobby, if fifth place is enough to get into second place,
Yeah.
on like the next round, depending on how things go. Say Bone Apple Tea gets second, right, in the next lobby. Lobby 4 will be absolutely insane. But before we get there, I think the number one thing that we have to kind of think about is we've seen a good amount of diversity in terms of the comps. We saw Urgot, we got to see Jin, we got to see some sort of AP comp on Firestorm that second time around. But yeah, what are you feeling about the patch so far?
I mean, I'm feeling that not too many things are that different. I guess it's a little bit less on, hey, I'm gonna go legendary carries, right? The Tom Kench is still good, though the Kaisa is still good. They're just in line, I think, with the expectations of legendary units, and you're gonna be less likely to find them. Portable Forge, we saw a lot in game number 1. I want to see more of it, because I'm trying to see how some of these items are going to, the strength of them, especially with them being nerfed versions from when they were prismatics. But I think we still have a lot more to learn and potentially see if Kuzma is able to keep it up, or if Jin might get contested in just a few minutes as we go to break. But don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back with more Fight Night Rising brought to you by Wisdom. Welcome back, everyone, to Fight Night Rising. Still Khroen and Boop here, bringing you the action. 2 games down, 2 more left to go. And as we explore this new patch, Boop, I think we're seeing not a lot of people really venturing off into new territory. We're still seeing a little bit of the same stuff, but it is literally day 1 of the patch. Usually have like an extra day because the patches come on Wednesday, but now it's literally coming on Thursday, the day of. So I think it's kind of to be expected.
Yeah, there was a holiday, MLK Day on Monday, so we got a little bit of a delay. But what is so funny to me is, yes, there hasn't been a ton of experimentation, and definitely no experimentation with Locket of the Iron Solari. At this point, they could be like, this item makes your unit invincible for 5 seconds, and they'd be like, I don't know, it hasn't been that good.
The item's called Locket, so I just don't like it.
We haven't actually gotten to see. I was actually super excited to see if anyone was going to lean into it. Kids out there, there was a world where triple Locket was the build in TFT. Triple Locket, triple Zeeks, if you remember it back, in set 1 for real.
Set 1, Locket stacking like Morgana with 6 Sorks, I think it was.
Yeah, that's
OP. There was another time as well where stacking Lockets was good, yeah.
Yeah, that is how you play TFT. So I think some of us old school players, seeing the Locket back was a little exciting. But for those of us who weren't around during that time, that might not be the case. So we'll see if any Lockets come through. However, Portable Forge has, at least in the first lobby, shown up. We didn't get a gold tier augment in the second lobby, but in the first lobby, 2 out of our top 4 had Portable Forge, including our lobby winner.
Yep. I think if we did see a gold tier augment last game, we probably would have seen at least 1 Portable Forge. It's definitely appealing, especially if you get some other pretty bad augment choices, either things that you're not really trying to commit to, or just Portable Forge is pretty flexible, right? You, out of 3 options of an augment, you get Portable Forge and you get 3 more options to really decide what direction you want to go. So hopefully we get to see it again in this round, in this game. Common Quail leaning a little bit towards Syndicates already with those TFs and a Darius on the bench. Maybe, those are some pretty good Shaco items, and Common Quail was a Shaco gamer last week.
Yeah, you already got 2 of the 3 most important components, right? So I guess you only need the 2. You only need the 2. So
all 3 of those could go to use, right? One, a Last Whisper, 1 Runeans, 1 IE. There you go, halfway there.
And we won 2 lobbies with Shaco, I believe, last week, or definitely top 4 in 3 lobbies with it. As another kind of comp that has been slowly making its way are some Arcanist comps, especially since they're uncontested. I think if Firestorm was able to get a Lux of any variety at any point during that last game, we might have been okay. We had the ability to potentially get there, but that doesn't seem. We didn't get there, is the short of it. So Arcanist, I still think, can make themselves known here. I would love to see a Reach or a Chase Arcanist trait. I don't know if you've noticed, I've said it 4 different ways.
Arcanist, Arcanist.
Yeah. One of them will be
Arcanist.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So
I don't even know any more ways
curious
to
to see where these AP items will eventually go, because they've been Archangel staffs for so long.
Yep.
Right? That maybe we'll actually start getting some Rabadons and some other things. Yes, we've gotten some of those items in this game, but that's only because they were forced to build them. There hasn't been any, outside of Firestorm, AP-oriented team comps. It has been IE Last Whisper all day so far.
Yeah. It's kind of surprising. There hasn't really been, I suppose not super surprising there isn't any Seraphine-focused compositions, because, again, she was nerfed. Her healing is going to be a little bit less. The damage will still be decent, but as you mentioned earlier, I think it's a great point. The Seraphine will not keep your team alive for as long, so it's less time that's allowed for her to actually do damage. Orianna, though, is another one that I think can be utilized as a carry. She's actually pretty good at it, as we, watch a Rat's fight here. Does have a Gangplank that hopefully will farm some gold. Doesn't do it, however. But
man,
no mercs, just an IE Slam. Has Nico's, though.
I got the Orn item that is the Execute one that gives you a gold
collector.
Yeah, you get the gold collector. You play Gangplank. You don't even need the other mercs at that point. You could get a double pop on the gold, so each kill is just 2. Just go twin shots at that point. You might get 2 gold per Gangplank kill, and that's a big deal. As we get a couple more Yordles, Early Taric seemed to be the name of the game too, getting that socialite hex as early as possible. What you'll see a lot of times is people will buy the Taric, put it in, find out where the hex is, then sell it. Again, just to gather information. And that's exactly what we saw.
Yep, everyone does know where it is, just based off of, I believe someone took the socialite augment. I think that's the first player that we saw. Yep, using Tarics for that is very, very good. But choosing to not keep the Taric, right, wants to keep the pair of Vexes, because if Hyperspace gets Vex too, that could be a win streak, you know, up until the Krugs had a gold opener as well, only 2 components, not 3, and is making more gold Yordles. I really, really love the spot for Hyperspace.
Yeah, I think Hyperspace is on the right trajectory as well in terms of overall game for this lobby, as we see another Shaco from Yiggles. So Yiggles played Shaco last round, got Shaco 3, and got 5th. Don't quite remember those items, but this is a really early Vex. So just push at this point.
Yep, that's that Vex too. Now this board is way, way strong right now. Every unit upgraded besides for that Leona. But even the Leona going in over the Darius is a big improvement. Could even pre-level to 5 here if they sell the Lulus, and don't really need the Lulus, right? Because we already have 3 Yordles here and some good ones at that. Vex, Ziggs, give Arcanist, Poppy already with the item in the front line. Could decide to sell the Poppy, move away from bodyguards, have the Lulu 2 in there, and just put the Ionic on the Vex. That would kind of be the only consideration there as to why we keep these Lulus. But it's going to sell one.
All right. Does Vex take any damage through the shield? It looks like we do. We do get there, but we're gonna not even. Oh, there he goes. We're gonna finish with pretty much full health. So that's gonna be the whole point of that Vex, especially if we continue building tankiness on it. That Vex can carry as a tank. You're gonna build it much like all the other tanks. I know it feels really weird, but if you're coming back from old school TFT days, think like Annie used to be built as a tank. Same concept here for the Vex. Has a 2 hex range, but you're going to be building that Vex as a tank with that Warmogs, with that Gargoyle Stoneplate, and that Thwart now.
Yep. Hyperspace really wants that tier, but isn't able to grab it. I think they were typing a little bit in chat there, but like, I think it was something like, if you don't get a tier, I'm going 8th or something. Hyperspace definitely wants to go AP route, especially with that Ionic opener. As we move over to Yiggles, who is again playing Mercs. Okay, I like this. I think I gave Yiggles some bit of undeserved criticism earlier on in the day by saying they just don't ever pivot off of playing wanting to play a strong early game board. But Yiggles is saying, hey, if I roll into Mercs, heck, I'll play them. Even though they're nerfed, I think Mercs is still good to run if you get them in the early game, like Yiggles has here.
Looks like we have gotten it since the first round. That usually happens when you orb a Gangplank or in Misfortune. Or we could have just gotten it the old-fashioned way, but with Ascension, we should be able to not get wiped from some of these comps. The Twitch needs to take down at least 1 unit while it's alive in order to make sure that happens. Okay, we might steal a second one with a Misfortune ult. No, close. It doesn't happen. We do get 1 unit off the board. That matters. That matters, right? Yeah. It might not matter right now, but you know that 2 HP is going to be the difference between 4th and 5th place potentially. And in a lobby like this one where 3 people are tied in second with 11 points, right? Anything matters. All HP is consequential.
100%. The Ascension right now for Eagles is a bit awkward because half the fights you're not even going to get to Ascension, right? You're just going to get wiped before that because it's just an Alawi 1 in the front line. And as soon as Alawi goes down, they're going to turn to the Twitch, who's most of your damage. Yiggles, I don't believe, even got to Ascension during the last fight. It was very close, though. We'll see if she's able to maintain this loss streak. She's scouting the player who is in last, and I love this. Takes out the Twitch because they don't want to be strong enough to win. Is going to end up going against a Common Quill anyway, and so is going to put that Shiv over onto the Misfortune, but I love that play.
I do too. So I specifically remember 2 days ago, I got a crazy good Merc comp and I was lose streaking, and then I went up against another weaker Merc comp and it ruined my day. Like it literally just made my food taste worse all day. Is how I felt about that, because they got a 12 loss streak cash out after that.
Actual max value.
Yeah, it was so cool to witness, not play against.
Yeah.
Because I cashed out at 5 and I was like, gold. And then that was about it. That can definitely ruin your day, and that completely changes your game plan. Because what do? Do you keep running mercs? Do you try to redo your loss streak to try to get 2 cash outs? Do you completely change it up? Do you go back to something like Yordles as an opener to compensate for the loss of money that you potentially suffered by not loose streaking more? There's a lot to think about when that happens. So there's so much I think I could talk about in terms of just moving Twitch away in that situation. But we have moved boards now with Bone Apple Tea now being playing the harmonica apparently. And
was that I wasn't even looking at the game.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Wow.
And then we have the IE on the Quinn.
Yeah, I think Quinn's an okay item carrier, better than anything else on the board here, so I don't really mind that. The question is, what does Bone Apple Tea make for items? Is it going to be Warmogs? We could consider moving those items over to Braum later if we're sticking with challengers, like going Yone, Fiora, Braum, Leona, that whole kind of good package deal, like we're kind of used to seeing. I think that will be the direction. Potential for Quicksilver for Bone Apple Tea, but might just want to greed for other items. We'll see.
Those were some of the greatest Twisted Fate ults I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, that Twisted Fate did a lot of damage. We don't get to see that particular chart from a common Quail, but we're keeping syndicates open there, but we also have some mutants. No mutant play so far today.
Yeah, Cho'Gath buff, I think, was one of the more interesting ones that maybe players are going to test out, see if Cho'Gath is viable, see what mutants you can get away with. Because Cho'Gath got a lot tankier, and feast damage going up from 800 to 900 is pretty sizable, right? Like, that's going to make it a lot easier to stack in the early game, and just make him generally powerful throughout the literal whole game, right? So, I think while we're not seeing it here today, by the time next week rolls around, we might be seeing multiple players go Cho'Gath like every single game, right?
Yeah. I mean, the stats for it right now are really, really good. I mean, it's a good top 4 comp. It's an easy trait to kind of not understand because there's different versions of it, but it's easy to read the word mutant and put your 5 mutants in. It's not one that requires an extra spatula like 5 protector, for example. So Ace going to be taking that 7 loss streak, pretending to play mercenaries. And we'll see if we're going to be able to not cash out, but reverse our fortune. Sam Hide Me is an interesting choice at this current time if we want to commit to the Braum. But we have some pretty rough items right now because everything I think that we're playing is contested on another board, unfortunately.
Don't really like to see that come through with the item grab bag, considering that we have AD items. I mean, there's almost no way this is a pivot into something like a Lux, right? But Ace is rolling down literally to 0 at 3-3 with being lowest HP in the lobby, and I'll say doesn't even have that strong of a board to show for it. It's okay at best, but this is far from a good position in the game for Ace.
Talon might be able to steal some wins based on positioning, but the Socialite Hex might make it a little harder. Right, it like locks you in. A comp like this is locked into using the Socialite Hex. Hey, we got lucky here. We might. This is a comp that's meant to lose, so we might actually end up fixing our loss streak, which is probably
is that
not
even good
want.
though? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. Oh no, I actually think this
Yiggles.
is worse than just losing a regular round.
Okay, it depends on what comes through in the carousel, right? We know that Ace is committing to Imperials because of that augment, but unfortunately hasn't hit. I think with that roll down, a lot of it was to not only hit the Talon 2 upgrade, but to hit either a Samira or a Scion, and none of those came through with rolling down to 0. So Ace, with that, if there's a Scion on this carousel, and there is, maybe leans into that direction. No.
Gets the 1 bow.
Yeah, I mean, bow's good. RFC for Talon, one of his best items, is just 1 glove away from kind of best in slot Talon with a Quicksilver to complement it for a defensive item.
It doesn't
Against the rough
need
spot though.
Needs the RFC because unlike Shaco, doesn't get free stealth unless you do get the augment for that in Assassins. Common Quill is still at 100 HP with this comp, which is kind of telling you the rest of the lobby is kind of struggles right now. If this is the top comp at 100 HP, everyone should still be feeling pretty good about their chances, maybe except for Ace. In that situation. Right now, Ace is, I think, clamoring for a top 4. We'll see if Yiggles is able to cash out. That's kind of like the big thing for the lobby. And kind of pushing the rest of the lobby down to the weak side is one person's purposely doing it, so other people are either consciously or subconsciously compensating for that. But this comp needs to start moving. It might be enough for now. There's a lot of really good synergies. Zyra can lock up that back line. It's a Spider-Man meme right now, pretty much. But yeah, Firestorm going in AP direction again with the Chalice.
Yeah, definitely super comfortable with going for AP. In fact, that's going to be just their go-to, not even just a comfort direction. Common Quail, I do really love the decision that Common Quail had there to level up and roll. Right? I think a lot of players would have just been like, okay, if I'm protecting a streak, what do I do? I'm already strong. I'm going to level up, just play a random unit on my bench. But he actually rolled for a good synergy while still staying above 30 gold. Picked the first thing that gave him a good synergy, which was the Heimerdinger to give Scholar, and is still 100 HP because of it. Yiggles cashes out. That doesn't look like it's that big of a cash out, but we'll see. Maybe it's just a bit deceptive. Some gold. PG, more gold, and 1 component gold.
All right, so that was like a 6 loss cash out or something. Maybe even less than that.
Is that just like... Honestly, that wasn't really good. And those are Merc nerfs coming through, I think. That's multiple rounds of less value. Usually Eagles have gotten like, what, maybe 10 more gold out of that?
Yeah. Maybe winning Mercs is back on the table too, right? There was like a hot second where people would run Mercs for like 4 rounds, get 2 extra gold for 3 rounds, and then bail. Yeah. So that might be a possibility, but Yiggles doesn't seem to be suffering from this because, again, the rest of this lobby is not strong. So we might have gotten a little lucky when it comes to that because the top end of this lobby is, being anchored with a Twisted Fate right now, Twisted Fate 2 with 3 items on it. So that's what everyone's looking up at. And looking at the separation when it comes to the HP totals here, the top 3 versus the rest of the world is at least 22 HP. So this will start evening up, but when and where it's going to go, because a Common Quail doesn't necessarily have like an easy way into the victory. There's still a lot that needs to be done on that board.
Yeah, Common Quill's items are very generic. They're not like best in slot for any carry. So he's just going to try to, push 8, push 9, and get like a random Fiora or Victor board online and kind of play just whenever he hits. And I like that style of play, and I think Common Quail is going to be good at it. It's just not guaranteed going to be strong. Other players have the potential to contest that top spot still.
All right.
Firestorm, gonna level up to 7 and roll. And roll. Okay, here we go. It's still again a little bit of
it's a slow lobby,
hesitation.
Khroen. I think at this point you got to look at the rest of the lobby and be like, are they rolling? Now that there's a Talon 3, everyone should be rolling.
Zephyr Slam.
At this point in time. So we're going to keep the money here. We're going to keep the items. We're still just not confident on the rest of the context of the lobby. We're going up against a challenger group that, again, isn't that strong. Both have Zephyrs, though, already. Let's see how much this win or loss is going to be. All eyes are on Warwick for the challenger, and actually the Quinn, who's always underutilized when it comes to utility, or not underutilized, but undervalued when it comes to enabling winning rounds.
Definitely. Heimer upgrade, I suppose you can say the Heimer upgrade was good enough to just sit. But it's in the Socialite Hex. It's not super strong because no items are there. Now we might consider putting items. That blue tier wants to be a blue buff.
What a weird lobby.
It's not going to be a blue buff, though. It's just going to be... Okay, Archangels. I don't know where Firestorm is going to get away with this. I don't think this is really a fantastic utilization of position in the lobby compared with items. I think it's very unlikely Firestorm gets a top 4 this game.
It seems like Firestorm needs to look back and really focus on transitions, right? Those pivots. We seem to have an idea, and this is very similar to me, where like I'll wake up and be like, I'm gonna 20 out of 20 so and so, and I literally won't play that comp that day. Right? I just need to like follow through on it. It works out
Yeah,
here as Asa
it's
takes
good.
down the Talon 3, no problem. I mean,
Asa,
Firestorm
yeah.
takes down Ace's Talon 3, no problem.
Asa was one of the players who, was the other big question mark. Like, they rolled down so much gold to not hit 3 Imperials, and finally they have it, but still, Talon 3 is not quite enough, especially with Asa being still level 6. But Firestorm gets one round of reprieve. Maybe this time around it'll be Heimer 3 kind of game. I don't know. This front line is going to fall off very soon, though. If not, maybe already fallen off just because that last round. Although the brief scouting that Firestorm just did, though, does still reveal that a lot of the boards are not very strong. This is a relatively weak end lobby for Stage 4-3.
Yeah, 83 HP at the top. The TF, again, was still the strongest. Okay, so now we're starting to get some boards that are going to cause some serious issues for some players. A Rat, one of those boards that finally has a tier 2 4-cost unit, not doing any damage currently, but it should be fine as we continue going on through the round. The Jin with the IE Last Whisper, maybe I spoke too soon, is doing some work. Seraphine ult is there, and it's going to be all she wrote, no matter what that Ziggs does. Firestorm loses out. That was a little closer than I thought it should have been, but...
Yeah. Good Zephyr and Blitzcrank hooking the corner units, right? Zephyr on the Jin, and then MF got hooked towards the center. And that Heimerdinger does do a lot of damage, right? I think it took down that tier 2 Leona just basically with that triple cast. But carousel time. Gonna be a Galio with a glove. Does Galio just go into the comp right now?
I think it's... I mean, something's got to go into the comp. So I think Galio is just one of those things that if you're able to get it before everybody, he's just such a good unit. You're going to be able to get more value out of it, and just put him in, especially with that Socialite Hex to help out. As we move on over to Hyperspace, this is looking like a... Oh, we actually got some Scholar buffs here, along with some Enchanter. So Enchanter's coming out to play in the last 2 lobbies. Most recent 2 lobbies.
I like this board from Hyperspace. They're rolling into some upgrades. They have high HP while they go level 8. They are 1 Vex away from Vex 3. Don't want to overroll here. That's the big thing. I believe Victor did get buffed at tier 1 coming into this patch. So he's going to be doing a lot more. And the Shojin, perfect item for Victor. Just needs some more AP items as he gets a rod. But does want to turn into something a bit more substantial later on.
People don't ever think about the fact that Jace increases attack speed with his gate. And what that means is something like Victor will get to that first ultimate no problem with something like a Jace gate. And this is going to be no problem here. The Thornmail, as you can see, is a good item just in general. That Leona was, tanking up to 5 people, was the last person alive. As we get a portable forge here, Runic Shield, not a choice at all.
Ooh.
It's going to be... those are all really good choices.
Zonya's for the Victor. That's like a GA, but maybe a bit better.
Yep, exactly. So we even get more stats and better options for the Victor. The Death Cap, the Vex 3 in the front line with 2, maybe even 3 really good items. The Alex part does seem to fall off, and it's only because I think a lot of people move away from AP at this time. So yeah, the synergy here is really good too, with the extra attack speed to help with the Shojins. Now we've got the Zonias. We might get even 2 or even 3 ultimates from this tier 1 Victor. Unless we get shrouded, that would be pretty rough.
Some very quick scouting there going on for Hyperspace. Wants to make sure that this Vex is going to be in a great position and, most importantly, not get Zephyred. Because if Vex gets Zephyred and Victor takes the aggro, it could be disastrous for that board. Just going to put Vex on the side there in the corner.
Interesting.
Yeah. Could be good into this round. Just the Zyra gets Zephyred and the Heimer 1 gets hooked. So Victor's still safe in the back line. And Vex is going to do her job as a frontline unit here and apply that Ionic Spark debuff to the rest of the units that she's around, making Victor even more powerful.
Yep, there's that second ultimate already, and by that time the round was already won. Didn't even need it. And I just also wanted to mention there's always a time in TFT's life cycle, whether it be at the beginning, but mostly at the end life cycles of patches, where AP champions end up in the front row. Ari, I think, is like the best example of that. But
Yeah.
we have Janna in the front row this time around. So basically, it's because their ultimates are so impactful. Sometimes you only need the one. Janna ulting at the early game might actually help your front line, because sometimes the front line's already dead by the time Janna ults. So curious to see how long it stays in that front line for. But I totally get it. If you're wondering why that looks weird, is because it is weird looking to see Janna in the front line of any type of game, but in this particular instance, it's just to get to that ultimate as quick as possible. It's going to enable the Taric to get to their ultimate, then Vex will shield, so there's some really good synergy in that front line there.
Yeah, what, you don't, on John on Summoner's Rift, go flash in there and ultimate them into your team, you make big
no,
plays?
What I do is flash and then ult, and nothing will happen because I have flashed the other direction because my mouse movement's not good enough.
Push them away, right?
Yeah. Right. Though that is, I remember when Janna was meta, and that was just like what you saw in League of Legends, and I liked that version. I liked that version of League.
It's fun.
Janna's really cool, just a really fun champion to watch. Just
TFT,
in general.
full TFT now. They're all just units.
I know, right? All skins are just potential archetypes.
I know.
Right, I don't even look at skin lines to buy them anymore. I think of TFT moves for them. Like, how excited are you for Debonair to be in the game?
Oh my! I don't know why. I'm 2020 Debonair.
Yeah. I don't know. Even if it's bad, I'm just gonna play it.
I'm just Debonair. It just looks so cool.
Dream as the popular kid in school. Kai'Sa, good unit.
Arad dropping to 6 HP. Arad's a player that I think a lot of people, myself included, had high expectations for coming into today's games. They had, I think it was 3 weeks in a row of victories. I remember that even more because we didn't have interviews because they declined those, unfortunately. But Arad did get 8th in the last game. While they do dodge 8th here, actually Ace took the 8th. Could still be 7th or 6th here if they don't really start improving their board, which they can't really do, right? A lot of stuff is already upgraded. Only thing they can do is position a bit better.
Positioning seems to be the difference maker between this lobby in particular, and probably a lot of the lobbies you see at home, as we finally get Heimerdinger 3 on the other side. We've got an Innovator spat just to get some crab parties on the field. Are we going to be partying? Is this going to turn into a rave? We'll see.
Very well might.
We've got a Singer with Seraphine in the back. Clutch heal onto the Zillion. Big ult from the Heimerdinger. Seraphine on the other side doing a little bit. Orianna, though, but Orianna on both sides helping out, and everyone surviving for Firestorm. For not everyone, 3 members surviving with little to no HP, as Rat finds his 2nd bottom 2 of the day. So that's an 8th, a win, and a 7th.
That's rough. Even with the I'll say the tech to put the declaw on the Jhin wasn't enough to survive the Heimerdinger triple cast there. Such a close fight, especially with that Orianna ult from Rat coming through, but it just was not enough. As we move over to Common Quail, who is also running Victor, similar to who else was it actually? I don't remember offhand, but we have 2 Victor players.
This board looks scary. This is looking pretty good. 5-3 in terms of power level at this point, we're actually on the lower end, but once that's Victor 2, things will be a lot easier. Oh, good ultimate too. Wow. Oh, that's got to be rough.
Big.
My Victor ultimates never look like that.
Still lose though.
Yeah. Victor 2 doesn't lose there. Just going to put that out there. Gets to that 2nd ultimate sooner and probably takes down... maybe the GA will help out. But we have seen a Common Quail lose out a couple rounds in a row with that particular comp. We've got a Kai'Sa 2 doing some good work with a Shiv. We've got a Syndicate spat here, so if Quail was able to continue on with the Syndicates, we might have been able to see a Galio Syndicate, but that won't be the case now. That blocks that unit pretty much from everybody.
Does Firestorm also takes the 2nd bottom 4 of the day. Last couple of games, it doesn't seem like their direction was as solidified as when they got that Lux online in game 1, right? Firestorm did grab the Heimer 3, but having 1 Archangels and GA, that just doesn't cut it, frankly. It's just not good enough. As Common Quail is going to go level 9 here. Yeah, doesn't even have level up augment, just pure gold usage. Syra goes in. Do they?
He's going to roll into Victor right now.
One roll?
Do it.
One time? No.
Good unit, though. Good unit. We're actually going to put it in
Okay
at
with the
this
Yumi.
point.
It's 4 Scholar, too.
Yeah, Scholar's so good. It's kind of like Dazzler from last set. Like, when you have it, it's just so nice.
Yeah.
Not completely necessary, but 4 Scholar is really good. I bet the top 4 rate on 4 Scholar, just having 4 Scholar, is pretty high.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Generally, if you do that, it's to buff up a very strong carry, be it, Orianna, Seraphine, Victor, all those ones, right? You don't really need it for the Lux. But those ones with larger mana pools. Victor gets to the mana pool maximum, gets to ult again, but not great, though.
Oh!
Wow, Kaisa survives. Kaisa
Yiggles.
2. That's a collector on Yiggles' Urgot as well. Those are some strong carries. And yeah, no wonder Yiggles is on a 4 win streak with that. Looking to make that even more.
And that's natural. Remember, Yiggles had arguably the worst cash out of Mercs I had ever seen in my life since the beginning of this set. I think it was like 30 gold, the Thief's Gloves, and an item component.
Yeah. Was it even 30 gold? Maybe, I don't know.
It might have been less than that. Yeah. It could have been 20. But that was what I just said was best case scenario for Eagles' cash out. And look at this. Look at where we are now. Not a big cash out, but using the money appropriately, right? Especially this Kaisa, going to enable herself with the static Shiv while also being able to push a lot of that damage in with the Rabadons. We actually, I don't think, got a Shiv proc just then, but we should now. There it is. And so all of the magic resist should be getting taken down. This Kaisa is good enough to be every comp so far, especially after Ascending, and that's why we're on a 5-win streak this late in the game.
Yeah, having GA for the Kaisa synergizes super well with Ascension. And just Chemtech in general, right? Because they get kind of low and then they start healing on up. Triple item on this dragon. And these are 3, I would say, very, very good items for this point. The Chalice and the Zeeks are going to be buffing up the 2 powerful carries. The QSS could find its way onto something like a Tom Kench, but maybe just the Mundo or the Fiora there in the front line. But again, fantastic items for this point in the game.
Yeah, gotta love the all AD, great dragon for AD comp for our AP comp for Common Quail, poor thing.
Yeah,
but rough. This particular group of items are like those late game items that you would take one of them on the dragon and be okay with. But having the Zeeks there along with the other 2 items is very, very nice. Orianna 2 on the board, putting in our last enchanter. AP not welcome here on this board.
No, gonna be very, very good against AP boards like the other Victor that a Common Quail had. And it is gonna be Victor 2 now, though. Wants to eliminate that maybe before they roll into their own Victor 2 or just get lucky in high roll. We are level 9, so that's 16% now, up from 15% chance to find legendaries. Kench is gonna be positioned right next to the Vex, and you can see in chat the Hyperspace is like, no, that's bad for me. And yeah, where'd Vex go? Into the belly and spit out into the corner.
Yeah, the Victor 2 gets the ult off first. Zhonya's might be the saving grace here. Oh, man.
No.
My Victor ults never do that. Like, it's like the opponent will, like, matrix their way outside of it. Or my Victor ults are like Ziggs ults. They only happen when the team is moving.
I know.
Right. So frustrating. But
it's just a player diff, Boop. I don't know.
Thanks.
I got you.
Hey, we all were thinking it, but, I'm happy that you said it. I really appreciate it. I love it. I love it. I love the tea. This is a library. Reading is always open, Khroen. I'm always open to get read. Anyway, for all 3 people who watched that show, you're welcome. Everyone else, it's a great show. You'll have to look into it yourself. Yep. Common Quail leading the charge right now by double Kuzma at this point.
Ooh, Hyperspace going up against Yiggles. Yiggles having, again, that Kaisa and the Urgot with fantastic items. Hyperspace only has that Jace 1 and Victor 1. Is it enough, though? The first Victor ult comes through, and wow, actually takes out the Urgot in the back line. Kaisa is still alive, has the GA, has the Shiv, and as the fight continues to go on, Kaisa's going to get stronger and stronger, especially with Ascension, and that cast comes through, eliminates most of the board. Jace not going to be able to do enough. That Mundo way too tanky, but is going to kill enough to survive on 1 HP. When Apple T goes out in 5th.
That is the second, brutal 5th place, I believe, Bone Apple T has been on. But consistently getting 4th and 5th in this lobby might actually be enough to get into the top 3 surprisingly. We have a Jace 2 potential here. You really got to think about it, especially since you're on your last life. We're going to go ahead and do it.
Six
Scholar. I don't think I've ever seen.
What are the stats on that one, Boob?
I know, right? I don't know. Probably 90% top 2, but we'll see. 6 Scholar. You need augments for that, and you need every single Scholar unit, and we were able to get that in just 10 gold. So we're actually feeling pretty good. We can buy this Lissandra if we lose out this round, if we choose. But is it going to be enough mana? We're going to get our gate really soon. We're going to constantly have that phase gate open now that we have 6 Scholars. Oh, interesting.
That's pretty
big. Yeah, everyone's going to have like permanent attack speed because of the 6 Scholar with the Jace in the back.
Eagles goes out.
Interesting.
Eagles out in 4th. Kuzma at 4 HP. A Common Quail still win streaking all the way at the top. Hyperspace, though. That permanent or near permanent acceleration gate in the back line is going to have huge value for the Victor, especially with that Shojins. And just giving the mana to Victor as well. That's going to be Victor cast, and then Victor cast, and then Victor cast, like back to back to back. Is it going to be enough, though? Because it's still only a Victor 1. And Common Quail, look at that. Victor on the bench, denying Victors away.
Thank you. More people should do this. It's a legitimate strategy. Not just... I love that video so much. Every single time I say that phrase, I think of that video. It's a super old school YouTube video. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but some guy spawn camping, and it's a legitimate strategy.
I don't think I've seen that, actually.
Okay, it's super old school, but I don't know. This hyperspace comp's super interesting. We'll see if Kuzma is going to be able to survive here. It's going to be Oriana enabling herself. Death Stance on the Fiora. That's really good itemization for that particular unit. Got some CC on everyone except for Victor. Oh, everyone's in the lasers.
Ooh.
Laser beams
Besides
going
Fiora.
everywhere.
Fiora survived, but I don't think she'll be able to do enough. No. Double kill, maybe?
Yep. That's another portable forge there. Hyperspace.
And double kill.
Gonna lose too, so it's gonna be a double kill. Common Quail getting that win in the 3rd lobby. He won the 3rd lobby last week. Might be kind of his deal at this point.
It seems like it. Common Quail hasn't found a first yet today, but has definitely been trending upwards. Game number 1 was a little bit disappointing. I believe it was a 6th, and then a 2nd, and then a 1st. So these scores are going to be still pretty spicy, Boob. I'm not sure exactly. We'll see in just a few moments. But this game was really different than the first two. Number 1, because, more Merc play, and we saw Merc play not really be that great, but still you go stabilizing, able to get a top 4, but then multiple players in the top 3 centering their composition strength around Victor. Like, we haven't seen that before in, I think, a very long time. But let's see the scores, because they are ready. See everyone's ending up after those 3 games. It is going to be Kuzma still. Did get the 2nd there, actually, barely. I think it was like 1 HP, claimed that 2nd place. That's 24 points. Common Quail, though, with 21. Eagles, 17. Hyperspace, 16. And then Arat, Firestorm, Bon Tea, and Ace down in the bottom 4.
I believe when the Eagles got eliminated the last time she was here, it was through a tiebreak. So,
rough.
I always get really afraid. Some people are like addicted to tiebreakers when it comes to playing TFT.
Yeah.
Ali is the one that comes to mind. I think has happened 3 out of the 4 times they've been on Fight Night Rising.
Yeah, multiple times.
And they've lost each time on those tiebreakers.
5th place every time.
Yeah, but we'll see coming into this final lobby. Still anyone's game at 24 points. Everyone vulnerable to move at that point. But that last lobby was really interesting because it never felt like the team comps were there until like the last 2 rounds. That's when we got our tier 2 5 cost units, and by that time no one had HP. Yeah,
we had to like the pieces of, like, where they want to be going to stage 5 and stuff, but they weren't as powerful as, they weren't capped until the last couple of rounds. So definitely agree with you there. This last game's gonna be spicy. I mean, I don't think that a Rat and Firestorm and Bon Appetit and Ace can't get first place, but a couple of them still could make their way into the top 3. And for a Rat, I think that's kind of where we expect them to be. We just had a couple unfortunate games back to back. Kuzma, though, shaping up for a win. Has top 4'd every single game, 4th, and then a 1st, and then a 2nd. They're certainly playing very, very well here today.
Cotton McQuail definitely leading the charge so far, but the person in first place tends to do poorly in the last lobby. It always happens. It happened last week with Tri Fury, right? eighth. Got eighth first. It was the most amazing run
funny.
of games
that was so funny.
that I've ever seen in my life. Actually got to talking to the guy a little bit. Super fun. Really funny. Might actually be a carbon copy of Last Card Axe, but just on our continent. Which I'm fine with. I would love that. So
the energy is just
I just love it.
It's immaculate.
It's like, if you're gonna get eighth, have fun getting eighth. You know what I mean? Like, you're already eliminated, and he was like, I'm gonna play Galio, called the comp, won with the comp. It was amazing. But coming into this lobby, everyone's still there because there are also some people who love to play spoiler. I'm one of those people, right? If I'm already lost, I want to get something out of this, and potentially ruining someone else's day is how you do that. So everyone looking up at third and fourth place right now, which is close. So you play to win now. There's no top four comps for our bottom two and bottom three. It's just you play to win, in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty sure, Boop. You just said, quote, if I'm not having a good day, I'm going to ruin someone else's day. That's the Boop philosophy.
That's why I got married. That's what marriage is about.
You can't keep doing this, Boop. You can't keep these up. Oh my god.
It's great. Marriage is great, and I love it. It just has got a lot of jokes involved.
Yeah. And all in good fun.
For me, I'm having fun. We'll see if other people are. As we get our first augment, those are some interesting choices. No one committing to the mutant so far.
So small Yordles.
For
go.
The Yordle portal. You know who'd be a really good Yordle? Squirtle to come out of the portal. Because he's a turtle.
Squirtle, come out of the portal while being a turtle, being a Yordle.
Yeah.
I think we just have a song idea on our hand right now.
Yeah, there it is. Good thing you're a writer.
True. Let me get to writing.
Yeah, there it is. You're writing songs, right?
Actually, yes. That is crazy that we've gotten here. Actually, yes. I'm learning music. Watching a video on music theory the other day, I'm like, okay, I don't really understand, but I'm trying, right?
Yeah, it's so funny. You have a friend that majored in music.
I know,
crazy.
Yeah,
so weird.
So
weird. Who could that?
I just want to look. I just want to feel dumb, right? I ask questions. I just it's just
no,
it's
man.
Bad.
Hey, I love music theory. I was one of those weird kids that liked music theory.
Do people
there were
not
some
like
parts
music
of
theory?
it. It's a weed out class for the music school a lot of the time. So a lot of freshmen bail out of it. But I think it's cool. It's cool to see how music works because it's all about kind of like TFT, right? And this is a for real thing I talk about, not just to get back to the game, where you learn how to play with the rules, and then eventually you get good enough to learn how to play while breaking the rules.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right?
I agree.
And so in TFT, it's exactly the same, right? And other phrases that you use in music that I find really interesting is no one's ever going to play the perfect TFT game, right? No one's ever going to play a perfect piece of music. It's, in my opinion, impossible. There are too many opinions attached to it. So knowing that and taking that knowledge into something like this, adjacently is really good. So, comparison's apt. The comparison's apt.
I think that's probably one of the best analogies or comparisons we've had on Fight Night here.
It's good for TFT, and all we had to do is rhyme Squirtle, Yordle, and Turtle.
And then we got
to get there. Yeah.
Crazy. I just one thing happens, and as soon as we're genius points. We're just
I don't know if you can give yourself genius points, but to each their own. If no one else is giving you points, might as well give them to yourself.
True. I gotta give you some points, Boop. So much self-deprecating humor. We gotta get you with some positivity every once in a while.
So
you're great, Boop. You're great.
There's so much I want to say that is anti to that, but I gotta hold. A rat now holding 94 HP, very close to the chest. And I wanted to see, at some point, Rat will play Yordles for us. Played a little bit of Yordles when Yordles were good last set, but now not really doing a bunch of it as we have a Protector comp for the first time today.
Protector,
even as an opener.
At least for now, yeah. I don't think we haven't seen that much of that. Maybe we saw 2 Protector Splash with a Scion plus Blitzcrank maybe earlier. That's one of the easier ways to make Scion just that much more tanky. But we do have the Socialite emblem coming through, and I think that does give literally exactly 1 gold now when you pick it up. So hey, a bit more of incentive to take it, right? As a Rat gets offered a Vi too, so yeah, might as well take it. Enforcer buff,
Yeah,
not
it
bad
can
in the early
level up
game.
now too. Can,
Exactly.
and then passively go into level 5 next round and get some access to 4 cost units. You never know.
Might high roll into an Urgot or something, and then boom, we have some direction. Also, Vi is a good item carrier, right? We see that sometimes where Vi carries like a Morellos or like just some generic AP items, maybe just some tank items, and she pops off.
Yeah, up there with TF in terms of like complete agnostic item capabilities. Can carry your, defensive items, can carry your tank items, can carry your AP items. Just good carrier. Not as like a carry, but good at carrying things.
Good carrier, like a
Yeah,
StarCraft
very good at
unit.
holding your purse while you're in the dressing room.
Ah, true.
Very good at holding food while you put it on the grill.
Mm-hmm,
Very good. Those are other. That's where being good at holding things would probably. Oh, also on the monkey bars. Pretty good on the monkey bars.
What I'm always impressed about with like waiters and waitresses like hold like 18 different plates like when they're walking to serve food.
Plates
I'm
are
just
heavy.
like, how do you do that?
I like how that's what I point out. Anyway,
they're heavy.
plates are heavy, guys. I used to work at the Olive Garden for a total of 2 weeks. I'll tell you that story another day.
2 weeks. Yeah, I think we understand why it's 2 weeks now.
86 HP now. Didn't hold that 94 as close to the heart as we necessarily needed to, but we're going to get first pick on the carousel, which I think the most important carousel to have first pick on, especially if you know you're losing, is the first one. Can definitely save you in your entire lobby experience by picking up just the right item. Someone like Bone Apple Tea and Yiggles, who does like starting, up at the top, is going to be okay with getting more of those flexible items, right? That's why when Chalice is good, people are fine with that. Because it's like, oh, if I don't know what I want, I can just get a cloak because they're always there.
Exactly. Yiggles was unfortunately not able to carry the streak forward after this carousel, before the carousel, but still gonna be level 5 and has a lot of gold. Had a bit of a gold opener there. And has makeshift armor, but has still put the belt on Graves, which I think is a bit of a misplay there, because he's actually going to be tankier without any items.
Yep.
So, I don't like that decision.
Probably got just like what is it called when your like habits take over, like you're just going through muscle memory, right? You have the item, you put it on, and then it's like, oh, I have makeshift armor.
Yeah, it's like, this is generally good to do, but wait, I actually specifically shouldn't do that right now. It's kind of just like built different, right? You have to like untrain your muscle memory of like what I want to play with generic TFT boards.
The augment that breaks apart your items, right? Sometimes you pick that super early and then you sell a unit, you're like, oh yeah, I have this augment.
Yeah.
And this is making the game so hard because you
do
forget.
that at like 4-5 and you're like, wait a minute, what is my transition?
That has happened 3 times during fight night. So we're used to it at this point. But these scraps, super interesting to run scrap and makeshift armor just in general. They're anti-ethical to each other. But we always say all the time, I wish more people ignored their augments more often in terms of socialite hexes sometimes, in terms of like mercs. This is not necessarily what we meant by that, but we are going to get there because a makeshift armored Echo isn't going to get the item, but we'll get the makeshift bonus instead.
Hyperspace has unstable evolution, right? And has Cho'Gath, so we might be finally seeing a Cho'Gath board, Boo.
Yeah, it's got to be a tier 3 in order to really win out that round. But we'll see. We shall see. This unstable evolution is an interesting augment because you're literally wasting it until you have a tier 2 unit. And it always comes up first, I believe. Or at least feels like it. So we'll see if that's going to end up being a great choice or a rough one, because sometimes the game gives you 2 Cho'Gaths and it doesn't give you another one until stage 3-3.
Yeah, Bone Apple Tea, level 6, even without any gold augments, just a aggressive push of the levels. I mean, I think Bone Apple Tea did that because they scouted around and said, okay, there's maybe 1 or 2 boards that could beat me, and I want to make sure to run all these synergies, right? 3 Yordles, 4 Arcanists, 2 Bodyguards, because Yordles will still get back that economy. I think overall, I probably like this decision. It gets offered a Jin as well because, level 6, 5% chance to get 4 costs. Isn't going to go that route, though, because it's more of an AP direction. Again, though, I think I do like that aggressive level style.
Slowly but surely, we've been moving into an AP direction throughout the whole lobby today.
Yeah.
We went with like I think one AP comp getting second place in the first lobby to a couple making it into the top 4. This is first aid, so things like Vex, things like Swain are going to be a little bit stronger here than anticipated.
Definitely. GA on the Malzahar, not bad. That can go into a Victor a bit later. We might be seeing more Victor boards. It'll be interesting if this meta does trend from okay, the 3 best comps are all AD between Jhin, Yone, and Urgot, to, okay, the best comps are going to be AP. Like, that would just be such a crazy meta swap. I don't think that's, like, necessarily justified, but that's why there's things like regional differences in TFT metas, right? Say in some metas, you might be seeing completely different stuff. It's just what players decide, right? Players decide the meta. They're like, hey, I'm going to do this. Oh, I see this player go that. I'm going to copy it, right? It's so strange and so fascinating.
First aid
TFT
diff.
metas, first aid diff, actually. It's so strange and interesting how TFT metas form that way.
Oh, 100%. And they just, it's always flowing, ebbing and flowing, right? Yep. If you imagine a bunch of waves, right? Esports as a business is kind of like this. I always give this advice is you have to stay on top of the wave, right? If you're not staying on top of the wave, you're going to be taken over. You might be able to get back, right? But it's going to be a little bit harder, and TFT can feel that way. So whenever we get these established metas, it's always really cool how slowly but surely, if you just wait enough time, something happens with the meta, i.e., that's so funny that that's the name of an item. But for example, Draven was always really popular in NA. We actually didn't see that much Draven get taken out on fight night, but did not perform well anywhere else. So regional differences in terms of positioning. China is known for really height positioning in the last couple seconds. As this Malzahar not going to be doing a lot. Unstable evolution, good. When you get those tier 2 units. But to finish off the point, I think that is always going to be where the game's in its best state, when there's, a flex comp that's good, where, it could kind of start as something kind of like Cultists used to be. It's like the comp that the challenge is getting out of it, not getting into it.
Yeah.
Right. There's always going to be one of those. There's always going to be one chase comp that should be good. And there should be an AP and an AD comp, the high skill comp that should be good. And that's in a perfect world. And I actually think we're kind of close right now.
I think we are as well. This is going to be a comp that doesn't really lean into quite that direction from hyperspace, being the 5 mutants. It's going to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of just tankiness with that Cho'Gath, hopefully. But I think the mutant this game is going to be Metamorphosis. I believe that's what the scouting there showed briefly. I could be wrong, though. But that would just mean if it is Metamorphosis, these units will get stronger over the course of the fight. And with that augment choice is going to have armor plating. So this Cho'Gath is definitely going to be a core feature of this comp. We are all in. Hyperspace typed in chat there, trust me. So, hey, I trust. I'm here for the ride, Boop. What about you?
Oh, 100%. If this is a roller coaster, I'm a thrill seeker, friends, and we need this tier 2 Cho'Gath to get at least one augment onto it. But our Malzahar of all mutants is going to be the tier 2 augment. Also, this ZZ Rot is going to be a pretty big deal in terms of giving us our ability to survive. And we're getting our Dark Star trait, so we're getting stronger.
Okay, Dark Star. Never mind.
So that would be Void. No, Voidborn is Execute. Dark Star.
It's Voracious Appetite.
Voracious Appetite. And so when one unit dies, the rest of the mutants get stronger. And so with things like that Colossal Plating, if Cho'Gath is last on the board, that's a pretty big deal.
The Spatula might be a pretty big deal as well, but Hyperspace isn't going to go for that. Even though it's on a Mundo, could get Mutant Emblem, not have to run the Cassidon, but just wants those other good items. Yeagle's in fact be the one to pick up that Spatula. Maybe it'll be a Tactician's Crown. I keep wanting to say Force of Nature every single time, but it is Tactician's Crown now. Gotta drill that into my head.
Honestly, it's a matter of time before it's... I cannot wait until next set when Force of Nature is just its own item. Just to screw with us.
I was gonna say that'd be cool, but that'd also be it'd be kind of confusing for people coming back. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, again, for all you children out there, Force of Nature used to be just a regular item in the game, in Summoner's Rift. And here. Yeah. It was the old tactician's crown, but way back, like in
Mm-hmm.
beta, Force of Nature and Philosopher's Stone and Heart of Gold were like all the jam when it comes to this.
Oh
And this is one
man,
of my favorite
Heart
challenger
of
setups,
Gold.
which is the assassin version of the Samira. So we get to get a little bit of both the best worlds when it comes to assassins, challengers, and Imperials.
Yep, Assassin Emblem and Challenger as well. A common quail. A common quail is no stranger to playing exciting things if they get a good opener for it. I think I love a common quail's playstyle from that. They're very open to lean into these augment choices, and they're doing it here. They're on a win streak. They have the Samira too, and they're playing it very, very well.
The Samira 2 should be enough for a while. Anytime you see a ranged character in the front 2 rows, you know for a fact that means we have Knife's Edge, or for some reason Draven has teleported into our game, which cannot happen. This is the same board, I think, that got Makeshift and was running Scraps, which was interesting. But at least now we've
Yes,
got
it is.
all of the damage onto the Ezreal. Unfortunately, the spat on the Mundo is weakening it. And we do have the remover, which is probably going to be used for something else. But as of right now, we're getting a little bit more out of our makeshift armor than we were at the early game.
Yeah, the remover doesn't have to be utilized for that emblem. It could be turning into a mutant or a chemtech, actually, and both of them would pop off of the Mundo. Eagles is not going to be strong enough to continue to win out through stage 3. It is in fact going to lose against Apple T, who is level 7. Turn on the graphics here, make sure to get as many frames as possible. I like that. That's what I do too.
For TFT.
Yeah, you need the frames TFT, man. It's crazy. Micro all those units. I mean, oof.
It's so funny because like when I do miss out on some time, right? Like I'll blame that. Like it's not me. It's like a tennis player blaming their racket, right?
Yep.
So Yiggles, she's looking for a potential spatula here. So we need a Negatron cloak. No, a belt for Negatron for mutant.
Yeah, Negatron for mutant, a belt which she already has, which is on the Echo right now, and gets another one. Oh, is that? Well, that's still good. An Urgot, I think, is exactly what Yiggles is okay with, and actually finds another one as well, and a Lysandra. I think that is going to be 5 Chemtech board. Probably going to roll down and find an Urgot soon. I'm not sure if the roll down would have been right then, because we're moving over to see a Rats roll down here and pivot. Gonna be 3 Socialite, gonna be Fiora in that Socialite Hex as well, and I think Fiora is one of the best units that can benefit from a frontline Socialite Hex, especially being at 3 tier, and that's a Gen 2 as well. What do we itemize here, Boob?
I think for now we got to itemize the Jin, right? I think the whole point of that pivot was to get onto the Fiora, but things are changing. I don't think that Jin was part of the plan, but now he is, and this is what you call rolling with the punches, folks. Out with the old, in with the new, as I like to say. And,
You've said that many times today.
I wonder why. The Jin is doing work, though. I think of all the items on here that is important, you want that last whisper, not there, so we're going to compensate with the Giant Slayer. We're going to get a little bit more time to shoot with the Hand of Justice, and the Black Cleaver is going to make it so we're going to be able to deal with some of our bigger targets even easier. So yeah, I love the pivot, and you're going to get AoE versions of that kind of damage versus the Fiora single target, and we don't even have that Fiora 2, so very good pivot, and that's like a mental pivot, not necessarily a pivot that the intent was to go Fiora, but we were open to the Jin. As we're gonna Nico's the Fiora, and why not have both?
Yeah,
why not both?
I like the decision. You don't need Sniper for the Jin. Nico on the Fiora have good items for her as well. That Giant Slayer is one of the best items Fiora can have if you're not going for that Jewel Gauntlet IE combo. And you're gonna go back to 3 Socialite. I love this. I think a Rat is a very intelligent player, shown by a lot of decisions that they make. This one being no different. Look at that. That's a 5-0. Jin strong, Fiora strong, has a Locket as well, Boop. We're finally seeing some Locket value, as well as that Frozen Heart there. Every single item on a Rat's board here is generic but good.
Locket, it's in the game. Everyone, it is in the game. It might actually show up again if we get another vest and no other items for that large rod. But yeah, I mean, we have the 3 socialite, and that's going to compensate for some lack of items. It's going to help the Fuhrer ult more. It's going to overall increase that damage. And the best part about it, when you get increased damage, what's the best kind of damage to get a % increase on? Its true damage. And that is something that Fuhrer has in spades. So that should be good to go, especially with just that Giant Slayer. But I mean, not even the 4th shot on the ultimate for the Jhin did a 1,000 crit. So ooh, even when the basic attacks are a threat from Jhin, you're in trouble.
Oh yeah, definitely in trouble. Gonna tear through that Jhin relatively easily, and that Vex is only tier 1. Yeah, but Apple T's board, sure, they're level 7, they're 50 gold. Their HP was so ridiculously high. I'm actually surprised they're still that high at this point with that board. But they're gonna go 8 and roll it down, hopefully find some upgrades and be way stronger. So fortunately, a rat ran into them before that happened. A rat did scout a lot coming into this round though, and actually saw, I believe there was like 3 or 4 comps that were looking like they were AP. So we're just seeing more and more AP as the day goes on, Boop. People are kind of discovering that AP is a little bit of the way to go now.
Yeah, you've got the Attenborough voice in the back and be like, the AP champions have been here the whole time.
I know.
They've just been hibernating and now it's their time to strike. As Rat will... Oh, are we going to get a second locket? I think we might get a second locket of the Iron Solari on
I would
the
love
Terran.
to see that, actually.
Because locket's always been good as a stacked item, right?
Yeah.
So I guess if you're going to go, we're supposed to learn from the past, right? So if we do that, we'll potentially stack another locket here, Archangel's potential, Chalice potential here, as well as we have 6. Oh, you ask and you shall receive.
Yep.
I was talking about this comp earlier. I really think this comp has late game potential, super thin at this point in the game. Really interesting that someone's able to get a Kaisa 2 before a Lulu 2 and Vex 2. You don't see that every day. But yeah, this 6 Arcanist Kaisa and these roll downs should set us up for, I think, a top 4, especially now that we have the GA on the Kaisa 2. This Kaisa is going to hit like a truck.
Have I ever seen like a 6 Arcanist Kaisa 2 being the Arcanist build? I'm not sure, but that first ultimate, yeah, we see the power right there. It didn't even auto that much, right? We talk about Kaisa gets stronger as the fight continues to go on. But what if she just ults and the board just dies anyway, right? We have the Chalice built onto the Malzahar, giving some nice AP, even though it was nerfed. Hey, speaking of Squirtle.
I
nice
love
background.
that. Yeah, anyway, I don't know what game that was from. That's crazy.
Squirtle, turtle,
really
Yordle.
good original art. For potential Yordles.
Yeah,
we're going back over to Yiggles. That was a Chemtech bet. We've got 7 Chemtechs.
7? Oh, okay. I expected 5, but hey, 7.
Yeah, I mean, 7 is a lucky number for a lot of us. As we get the Bruiser emblem, we're going to have 5 now. It's going to give us the ability to drop the Vi if we do drop something.
Yeah, I still do think we dropped. I think we dropped Trundle over Vi, pick up a Twin Shot, and then go 6 Bruiser, 5 Chemtech to Twin Shot. Yiggles could just go level 9, however, and so that we could see something completely different. Also running the Knife's Edge, so that's why the Urgot is in the second row there. It's still a decent spot for Urgot no matter what. Either third rowing him or second rowing him is often what you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yiggles,
all right, here we go.
HP.
Yeah, 7 Chemtech. We haven't seen this in a bit. So nice. You know, that's the thing. Blitzcrank pretty much makes Edge the corner uninhabitable by your carry, right? And even the second space because of Zephyrs. So things like QSS, Quicksilver Sash get really strong, and this Urgot also very strong with the Knife's Edge tier 2 version this time around, giving a lot of extra damage. And with the Last Whisper, you might not need some of the other hardcore damage on the Urgot. And this is an Urgot 2 already, so we're chilling.
Definitely chilling. I think Yiggles, with that in mind, is probably going to lean towards going a fast 9. Could even get, like, say, a Victor 2 online. We've seen Victors come through mostly on that, like, Arcanist or Scholar kind of line, but Victor can still be a very good unit when it comes to complementing Chemtech boards, and what better board to focus on Chemtechs than a 7 Chemtech board that Yiggles has here, right?
Yeah, we're keeping the 9 Chemtech dream alive, by the way. We do have the remover, so even if we just want to move just the Chemtech emblem somewhere, we can if we feel like we've potentially made a mistake. We have the ability to compensate for that. As more portable forges are coming through, it seems like if that's an option, you just think about it, right? You might not choose it, but it's definitely something to think about for your time. Seems like a pretty good early game augment.
I'm always just... I also want to say it, but I feel like I'm always so dizzy when I look at Fireboard's like transitional periods here. There's a socialite, a spatula, their emblem, sure, that's great on the Zyra, and it has Morello's there, which is not fantastic. It's decent. Gonna have a Randuin's there for the Swain. Not a ton of value that got there, but Firestorm mainly has to be thinking about getting a Tahm Kench 2 and what items that it's going to farm for you. Hopefully it's going to be a good one. Oh, it could actually farm. Okay. Some gold there. But with this eat, I isn't going to actually get it. Sunfire was ticking. All right. Hopefully some more items coming through.
That's what you call gas.
Yeah.
Sunfire gate from inside, sorry.
A little bit internal burning there.
We got some internal burning. We're gonna talk about that later. But now that we have some defensive items all over the place for Firestorm, that should be kind of where we're hoping, right? We just really, really want this Tahm Kench.
Oh my.
We're going to feed the Urgot to the Tahm Kench.
Urgot 2 fed the Tahm Kench. I mean, this is all in on the Tahm Kench for Firestorm here.
Yep, we need these items to come through, and we only got through half the health of the Zac. The GA is going to pop here shortly. We're going to live with an ult coming through, and I think that was a little too much health. Yes, it was, and Tahm Kench is unable to get any further value, even with the Urgot 2 feed.
I think the Urgot 2 feed was... I mean, it's the decision... I want to be stronger right now, as opposed to use that gold to roll the Tahm Kench 2 and be stronger in the long run, right? As soon as you get that Tahm Kench 2, you can double feed, have him be strong, even utilize that bow that's on the Tahm Kench, and that would be decent to go into even a Runans, a Titans, like something, anything. Need these rolldowns to hit a Tahm Kench.
You're praying to the Mord God right now. Throw that soul, create your circle of sacrifice or whatever you're into in terms of talking to Mort Dog when you can. Sorry.
Wow.
I didn't know if he was going to be able to get that in on time. And we're going to put our portable forge item on a tier 1 unit there in the front line, but it's still going to benefit the Tahm Kench. So interesting to me that we were willing to give a tier 2 Urgot to a Tahm Kench, but this time I don't think we actually gave anything to it.
Yeah, there's a lot to do that round, and there just was not a lot of intention that happened there. The Tahm Kench 1 looks like it's not going to be enough. Yeagles' board, even though she's still 50 gold level 8, is strong enough to take down Firestorm and take him down in 8th place as well. Ace going to be barely getting a 7th. Not really going to do too much for them, but still.
93 gold, Yeagles! Scrooge McDuck over there.
That's, Yeagles is pretty rich.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have rich get richer right now. Doesn't even need all of that. But maybe is... Okay, the only way that it's actually, I guess, reasonable or like logical to keep that much gold is if you want to wait to see what happens. Say if some players die who are holding your units, say, oh, I might want to actually now roll for tier 3 units instead of going to level 9. But if they survive, then you're saying, okay, I can just use that gold to level up. You don't need to pre-level by any means. And we'll see what Yeagles is trying to do here, and it's going to be level up. So...
Had 104 gold at the end of that. One of the coolest design features of TFT is if you want to play flexibly, you have to sacrifice something, right? Whether that be gold or XP or HP. This time it was the HP versus gold situation, right? Am I going to sacrifice all my gold to get to level 9? Bone Apple T is playing a really good comp right now on fire. I know that for a fact. We've got Tahm Kench is back in the box, right? So it's kind of like open fording in the mid game, right? Keeping your options open, sacrificing HP so you can keep that flexibility there to set you up for the late game because you have the economy and you have the space to do it.
I see how much damage is Kai's going to do with her second cast here. Is it going to wipe the board or get wiped? The GA. Oh, she doesn't get the cast off. She might die when she reses.
Oh,
yes, she does.
that direction.
If that Kaisa casts before the GA, I think she wins the round.
I agree, especially with the Arcanist spat on the Kaisa that's been there for... I think I've aged a year since we turned that Kaisa into a Arcanist. Remember, we got
games last that long.
Yeah, we got a Kaisa 2 before we got a Malzahar 2 in that round. So very interesting unstable evolution start. You don't really get openings like that very often, but I mean, we're here and we're happy about it. We have a pretty intense lead over the bottom 4 right now. Hyperspace and Kuzma on Elimination Station. Common Quail getting close, probably has 1 mulligan left. We do not want to lose this round. Rat coming through as well. Our Portable Forges seem to be working out as a top 4 possibility in that early game, it seems. Ooh, and we get that Runic Blade or whatever augment here too.
Ah, yeah, for Kuzma. See if it's going to be enough. Kuzma, the point leader coming into this game, has hit Victor 2, has hit Lux 2 with some okay items as well. If Victor gets the second cast off, it might be enough to tear through the rest of the board. If Lissandra doesn't ulti herself, and yes, it is. Kuzma survives on single-digit HP. Eagles takes the first loss in a few rounds.
Yeah, the Arcanist auto attacks doing more than the actual ults at that point in time, at least for the Lux. Looks like we're changing some things, potentially, getting some scholars in. Not enough education on the board.
Yeah, stay in school, kids.
Pretty good flexible items on the Dragon so far, so everyone actually feeling pretty good about it. Double Zeeks is always really nice. You might not think, oh, there's not a lot of attack speed. Well, attack speed equals ultimate, so Double Zeeks is pretty much a tier for the 2 people next to it.
Double Zeeks is pretty much a tier. You know, I agree with you. I just don't think I've ever heard it described that way, but...
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're not starting with the mana, so it's not the same thing, but you'll end up probably producing a tier's worth of mana based on your auto attacks.
Smear 3.
This is like the worst as a
TFT
player.
You have to. And I think it's sell the TG Talon because those rolls are not great because of exiles here.
Yep. Those are better.
Yep. There you go.
Oh, and Locket. Look at that.
And we get value, even though we're running exiles, because Locket extends to 5 hexes.
Those shields on those 3 units are going to be pretty big. So we're going to have that Thief's Gloves on the Samira, unable to get through that initial shield. That's just the Locket shield for now. Now is going to be the second opportunity to get through that Samira. Still hasn't done it. Gotten stuck on the Leona. One more ult from the Victor should be it. If we get some Prince of Messiah. Oh my god, that's a Boopasaurus ult. Right there. That is a Boopasaurus Victor ult, and it's unfortunate we lose because of it, because your Victor decided to sneeze in the middle of his ult.
Yeah, you were just sneeze and you press your ultimate, and then it's just, where did I throw that? What just happened? It's not a great feeling, but a great feeling for Common Quail. And be winning that round, maybe getting some more placements here. You know, he's on 21 points. He's on the cusp here of getting top 3 on the day. It was 3 points behind Kuzma. So, if he has a solid placement here, like a second or third or something, could maybe go first.
Has already made up 1 of those points just by finishing ahead. Finishing in 4th should be enough to surpass that. That'll be 3 extra points. The double Zeeks went on the Yumi. We do get a Tom Kenji. Look at the HP for that Scion, just getting wrecked by a Giant Slayer.
Giant Slayer, very, very good item. Talked about it a couple games ago, and it's continuing to show that it's strong, and strong against 3 stars, but not strong enough to deal with the Assassin Fiora. Hyperspace drops to 1 HP, a Rat drops to 6. This is really intense right now, Boop. Taking just a peek at the scores in the back end. If Yiggles gets first, Yiggles will have the same amount of points as Kuzma, so maybe some tiebreakers will have to happen there. And Yiggles now with a Tom Kench 2, she is putting herself in a good spot to reasonably top 1 this game.
Okay. Like you said, I'm just kind of taking it in. You don't really get to see games like this, let alone 5 people remaining at 6-3. That is something that you don't see very often. As we get double Scions here, it's going to be this Jhin that Rat's been running for quite a bit seeming to run out of a little bit of value. Tons of damage going now from that Fiora. The crits are all going to happen no matter what. And so that for this IE Last Whisper, and then you've got the Fiora with the Giant Slayer, gets that last ult off. This is not over. If she ults one more time, gets up to the Fiora.
Wait, the ult fizzled. Oh, it's still okay. Wow, that was so close, actually. That was spooky for Common Quail, but a rat is going to go out in 5th. Yeah, we're top 4.
All right, top 4. We have a pretty established top 2 right now. Are we going to get another assassin emblem for one of our players? No, we got the hat, we've got the sash, and we've got the GA.
Quicksilver for Common Quail, and I don't think was the greatest item for his board. Pineapple T gets a death cap. It's going to find its way onto a Malzahar, I would imagine. There's just a kind of random jinx in this board as well.
That's
only giving scrap. If the death cap goes onto the TF, oh wait, is there? Oh, there's not even binary here. Wait a minute.
I would have interesting. Death cap on jinx is actually really fun. Not good.
Yeah. I think it was better than TF.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of AOE damage. It's Jinx 2 at least, so I mean it makes sense. It rolls into an IE too,
Shrouds.
so that it shrouds everyone except for the TF. So maybe the hat was the play.
True, maybe it's on to the
future. Exactly, but we've got some mutants on the other side. Tier 3 mutants now. Oh,
wow.
Oh.
And that's why we go Arcanist Kaisa.
Wow. My brain literally just fizzled out just then. I loved seeing that. Oh, we got the
carrier for Victor.
Yep. So we just got the Victor in. But really, all eyes are on that Kaisa, who's literally been here since I was an embryo in this game. And it is pretty... And I actually am surprised that we're not winning by more.
Same. This game will go to stage 7. But does Yiggles claim the victory here or Pineapple T? That will set the precedent for what should happen going into stage 7. Both players level 9 have very strong boards. Yiggles' board can't really get upgraded that much more. Maybe a Mundo 2? Let's see. A beautiful Yuumi ult though, but Kaisa still alive. Oh, doesn't get the ultimate.
She's going to get an ult off
now
here though.
Now she does.
Oh, I don't see Yiggles getting out of this. This Arcanist comp is really strong. I know I talked about this earlier, and I could be a little bit more braggy about it, but what I'm going to say instead is it's not the... I'm so self-conscious now. Arcanists that are good. It's the Kaisa specifically because she's getting a ton of extra AP from that 6 splash. Could you imagine what it would look like with 8?
I ult once and whole board almost dead. It's a Reforger. Anything to Reforge here? Maybe.
Probably the Deathblade.
The Deathblade. If not, it would go on the Jinx, but oh man, we hit the Victor too. If Pineapple T's board wasn't already strong, it is going to be even better now. I don't know what Yiggles can do here besides just pray for good fight RNG. I don't even know if that's going to be enough.
We saw the Kaisa almost lose. If you're able to get Kaisa in the GA state without full mana, you've won the round. That's
Hopefully.
it. You've got to get Kaisa before the second ultimate. There's just too much damage otherwise. So it's Jace against, this Kaisa. Is this front line going to be enough, or is Kaisa going to be able to get to that second ultimate? There's the first one. Man, almost kills everyone. Oh, it does accomplish that goal, and the Kaisa does fall. Is it still not going to be enough? It's going to be the Jinx with the scrap. Oh, man. So even you get through the primary carry, there's still a secondary carry to get through, and that Jinx was able to put a cherry on top of that 4th lobby. And I think we got 4 different lobby winners today. So that's always exciting. I have literally no clue what these scores are going to look like. But today was a very interesting day of TFT. It was very obviously a patch day, in my opinion, in terms of every decision seemed to be slower. Everyone seemed to be thinking about it a lot more. And there were obviously some decisions that were made because of some decisions that were made in the last patch, right?
Yeah,
So we'll see what
definitely.
happened.
We'll see what happened because we have the scores ready right now to tell the story of who's going to be the victor on the night. It is a common quail, just barely, with that third place is going to lock up first overall on the day. Congratulations, common quail. We'll try to get an interview with him here soon, but Kuzma did finish in second. Yiggles did finish in third, so we'll be seeing them next week. Hyperspace Land rounds out our top 4. But Apple T, barely with that win, actually doesn't cross the line into the top 4. That's a bit of a heartbreaker, but I suppose when you bought 4 barely for 3 games out of the 4, kind of to be expected. Then it goes a Rat, Firestorm, and Ace.
2 lobby winners finishing in the bottom 4 today.
Yeah, wild. Weird, unorthodox day for a Rat. Start off strong. I'm like, all right, this is the Rat that we know and expect.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think he even said, oh, he's used to winning at this point in time. So we'll see more of a Rat. And maybe it was, you know, just that type of game. Maybe it was the new patch. But, you know, Quail coming in and winning through 2 patches is pretty impressive, especially since the comps were entirely different this time around.
Yeah. They were, and I believe we do have a Common Quail with us. Common Quail, congratulations on winning Fight Night 2 weeks in a row now. How are you feeling?
Oh man, my heart is pounding. Like the adrenaline was going that last game because I thought it was going to be a free top 4. I was like, oh, I hit early Samira 2 with good items, and it was not a free top 4. I had to sweat, so I'm kind of sweating, but feels good to win another night.
Just walk us through that. Like, why did the game get so sweaty for you? Like, what happened in the lobby dynamic to make it that much more stressful?
Well, first of all, there were like stage 2, there were 2 guys with Swain 2, and then so already I was like, oh, this is gonna be tough. But then I hit the early Samir 2, so like, oh, we're kind of chilling. But then I got pulled in a lot of different directions. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go for Assassin Samira 3. I think basically when I hit Assassin Spat, because I know Assassin Samira 3 is really strong, but I've never played it before. So I wasn't sure how to pilot it. So then I hit a Fiora 2, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sell the Samira and move Assassin Spat onto Fiora. But then I ended up playing like 5 Imperials, but I had my items on the Fiora, who wasn't an Imperial. So I got a little dizzy, and it was rough, but we just barely squeaked out the enough points to win the tournament.
Yeah, it was a rough one, but
at
you
one
made it
point,
there.
the most amount of squeaking that you can get to. Khroen, you got another one for Quail?
Do I? That is a good question. I'm supposed to be the one to have the questions here. Quail, just want to get your thoughts overall on the patch, right? This usually if we have fight nights and they're on patch day, you get, you know, one more day to experiment with things, but you know, because the holiday it did come today. What are you feeling about the patch? Was there any big things that it changed for you as you went to you know, approach the tournament here tonight?
I think I have a little more practice on the patch than the other guys because I did even play a few scrims on PBE because I'm playing in Zon Cup.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I have got to try a few things out. Basically I've just been spamming a lot of challengers, and it's actually been working for me on ladder, or like, because I played in I also played on the OCE servers yesterday, and challengers working out well for me. So going into fight night, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna force challengers, and then I think my first game I went 6 with challengers. So I'm not sure. It's because it's kind of a high roll. It's kind of a high roll comp. If you get good challenger augments and good items, you can just kind of steamroll everyone. But if you don't, and you don't hit your upgrades, it's really tough. But I do think challengers are strong. Like I think AD comps are pretty strong. So I've been playing around AD. The AP comps are good as well. If you can like get if you have a lot of gold at level 8 to roll down, maybe for some legendaries, hit a Kai'Sa or the Victors. But the patch feels pretty good actually. The only bad thing is that we haven't had a lot of time to practice for like this tournament and then Zon Cup tomorrow. So we'll see how the meta evolves.
Well, hopefully, today is a good day for practice going into tomorrow, or going into the weekend. But the big thing I kind of wanted to ask you is, you said that AD comps are pretty good, but if you were to kind of take our seat, what you saw was like 1 comp in the first lobby turning into 3 out, I think, the top 4 being AP. A lot of Victor in that last lobby. Is that just a lobby thing, or were people kind of sleeping on some AP this patch?
I think AP is really strong. Like if you get a Victor 2 or a Kai'Sa 2, like Victor just clears the entire board, and Kai'Sa does the same sort of thing. But I think like the 4-cost AD champions can stabilize your board really hard, so maybe it's kind of safer to go for those. But I think you can go AD or AP. It seems like a flexible patch so far.
Yeah. And in terms of the Zon Cup, what have you been doing to practice, man? I'm not going to get you to tell us any strategies. That would be uncouth of us. But have you had any? What have you been doing to practice? You said you've been practicing on OCE. Is that just
Yeah.
for a new challenge, or you got some
Oh, the
friends over
patch
there?
comes
What's
out
been your
like
prep?
one day earlier on OCE. So I have like an
That's
OCE
right.
account where I hit Challenger last night. So I kind of get like one day of extra training on a new patch, which actually is pretty valuable when there's only like a couple days to practice on a new patch. So yeah, that's my secret strats. Just make an OS account. Patch comes out one day earlier.
You know, it's funny. It's like one of those like hiding in plain sight situations. Like that information's out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just all about
Yeah.
doing it. And so my last question for you, man, is how, I asked you this last week, but now that you've gotten a second win here, how confident are you going into the bigger tournament?
Feeling pretty confident. Like I can't say I am super comfortable on the patch and I've got it all figured out, but I think the same can be said for literally all the other players. You know, they're gonna be in the same boat. So I think I might have a little more practice than a lot of the players, and I think that is going to work to my advantage. So I'm feeling fairly confident. I mean, day one you have to top four your first lobby, and then top four your second lobby. Like you're in two lobbies, eight player lobbies, and
Mhm.
that's before you even qualify for day two. So like going the distance is tough in the tournament in the Zon Cup for sure. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'll try my best.
Bit of a marathon, but we'll give the floor over to you for any shout outs that you want to give. Where can people find you on social medias and maybe follow your progress throughout the Zon Cup this weekend?
Well, the only social media I have is my Twitch, twitch.tv/a common quail. Guys, Zon Cup is tomorrow, I believe. 4 p.m. Pacific it starts. I'll be playing. Yeah, watch me there.
Yep.
There you go. Well, congrats on this victory in Fight Night, and good luck in your matches this weekend. We'll be rooting for you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Boop. There we have it. Another Common Quail victory. I was actually looking at the results of the past few weeks. Common Quail won the last two, but then before that, they got second. So they're maybe putting themselves, getting the conversation to be one of these really great Fight Night competitors. Certainly a kind of household name around here almost.
I think that's already happening. Great interviews will definitely help you with that. In terms of connecting with the
Oh,
audience.
definitely.
Whale is always down for a good
Yeah,
interview.
it was
which
great
I,
interviews.
which I really appreciate. And he's not the only one that's participating in the Zon Cup. So good luck to everyone there.
Yeah.
2 days after a patch is pretty intense, but it's almost like the great
Very.
equalizer, right? I don't know, at least for me, because I'd be coming from that position, right? I'm not going to be coming from the top. It's like the great equalizer. I'd go in thinking that I had a better chance, right? So,
Yeah.
for me, that would be a pretty big motivator. And I'm really excited to see what we're going to get this weekend, because we've got Jirachi on cast, I believe.
Yeah.
They're going to be really good at it. I know they've been working on it a lot. I think they worked through every single POV of the top Piltover Cup people. Which is pretty crazy and a lot of work. Admiral's going to be there. Frodan's going to be there. It's going to be a good event.
Yeah, definitely. It will be. It'll be a great event, and we'll see, not only what the patch brings, but I think just the TFT players and where they all stack up. Are players like Common Quill, who we see on Fight Night regularly, going to solidify themselves as, some of the staple names in just the tournament scene in general in TFT? A lot of questions. We'll find those out. And there's also got a bit of a, I want to say spoiler, but a bit of a teaser for next week for Fight Night Rising. It's going to be a little bit different, so make sure you're following, Giant Slayer TFT, Giant Slayer on Twitter. Next couple of days, you might be seeing some valuable information.
Yeah.
So, that's all we'll say for now. But it certainly will be something exciting. We'll say that
I'm
one.
so
Too.
excited.
I wanted to say it, but
if you man, if you know me, anyone who knows me personally knows that I am awful at keeping the stuff in. So
yeah,
I have to physically restrain myself because it's exciting what is going to be taking place.
I feel like you're the type of person that's like, hey, I got a secret. So anyway, and then you just say the
I know.
secret.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Like, I'll buy you a gift and be like, hey, I bought you this. Dang it. Like, like immediately. Anyway.
Anyways, that'll do it for us here this evening. Make sure to check out Giant Slayer socials on Twitter. Just go type in Giant Slayer. You will find it. And we will see you here next week for a bit of a new and improved Fight Night Rising brought to you by Wisdom. But until then, take care and have a good night.